The story begins with the main character waking up from being unconscious because of a loud noise. The first thing he saw when he opened his eyes was a fire. When he looked closer, he realized it was a bonfire, and some people were celebrating a party, but he mistook it for a camp party and didn't want to miss out. Suddenly, he smelled roasted lamb, which made him even more determined to join the party, as it had both food and beautiful ladies. The moment he tried to run toward them, he fell to the ground and noticed he was tied with a rope. He was confused about why he was tied up. Then, a screen appeared in front of him, showing that he had a mission to survive for 12 hours while being chased by primitive people. Soon, Chen saw some men roaming around the bonfire. He wondered where they came from, and tried to recall where a certain girl was. Chen even tried to tell the primitive men that there was a mistake, but as they came closer, Chen remembered what had happened to him. The scene then shifted to the past, 12 hours earlier, on a desolate island where Chen was drinking water from a river. He wondered why, just the day before, he had been with Sister Zhang buying things, but after taking a nap, he woke up on an unknown island. Chen was wondering if God had punished him. Suddenly, he saw some men and a boy playing. Thinking it was a cosplay, he was shocked when the small boy attacked him with a stick. He started running, asking them not to be serious, thinking they were just filming something. However, it wasn't like that. After a few seconds, Chen put some distance between himself and the primitive people. He thought no one could catch him while sprinting because he was a trained runner. But to his surprise, the primitive people started attacking him with spears. Suddenly, a screen appeared in front of him, revealing that he had a main mission. He was shocked and wondered what it meant. Was it some kind of system? Had he traveled to another world? Still running very fast, he was hit by a spear and fainted. The next thing he remembered was waking up. The scene then shifted to the present time, where Chen's system showed that he had survived and completed his mission. Chen received a reward for completing his mission, a survival package and an attribute point +1. He interpreted this as a game system and wondered if he had been transported into a game world. Chen then opened the survival package and found a split mountain axe as a reward. He also gained proficiency in wild survival and basic medicine. As a result, he became able to understand the language of the primitive people. He then thought that it must be a primitive world, where civilization had yet to begin and everything was in its early stages. He believed the game's objective was to survive in this world and build civilization. So Chen wondered if the system would eventually make him the prime minister or even a god. He asked the system to distribute attribute points to strength and equip the split mountain axe. When it was done, Chen gained enormous strength, which allowed him to easily break the rope he was tied with. However, Chen was soon spotted by the primitive men named Stonebone and Langu Chui. Stonebone ordered the others to capture Chen and not let him escape. Stonebone and Langu Chui approached Chen and told him he couldn't escape. Chen, full of attitude, shouted back, asking how dare they disrespect their god. Stonebone asked what god they didn't know. Seeing Langu Chui, Chen thought he must be the leader. He told Stonebone that he had been sent from heaven to dominate them, and because they had disrespected him, he had to punish them. Hearing this, Stonebone became furious and ran towards Chen to attack him. Chen's system displayed a new mission. He had to deter the primitive people and subdue them to become their leader. It also warned that the penalty for failure would be losing the split mountain axe. Seeing this, Chen became tense because without the axe, he doubted he could survive in such a time and place. Determined not to lose in any scenario, Chen blocked Stonebone's attack, but the ground around them cracked under the force. Seeing the force of Stonebone's attack, Chen was surprised by the strength of the primitive people. However, he knew that his body had been enhanced and wasn't weak either. With full power, Chen pushed back, and to his surprise, Stonebone's weapon was cut in half. Everyone in the primitive camp was stunned by Chen's display of strength. Sensing something bad was about to happen, Chen had a sinking feeling. Suddenly, Stonebone shouted and ordered everyone to charge at Chen together. Stunned, Chen started running away, questioning why Stonebone had agreed to a duel, but now the whole gang was teaming up against a 24-year-old boy. As one boy tried to attack him, Chen dodged and swiftly countered. Furiously, Chen warned them not to go overboard, claiming he could take down 5 people alone before dying and demanded they move back. He realized that if those barbarians attacked him together, he would easily die within seconds. Suddenly, to Chen's surprise, every barbarian started getting scared and running away from him. He wondered what had happened. Suddenly, his system showed that he had a side mission to help the primitive people by chasing away a ferocious saber-tooth, and it had been automatically accepted. Chen was initially confused reading the mission, but his confusion vanished when he realized that a saber-toothed tiger was indeed standing behind him. The moment Chen saw it, he started running to save himself. The tiger chased Chen relentlessly, attacking him as he ran. Chen was tense, wondering why everyone seemed to want to eat him. He couldn't understand why the system would give him a mission like that. Knowing that even one bite from the tiger could make half his body disappear, suddenly Chen felt a claw attack from the tiger, which hurt him badly. He realized that fighting head-on wouldn't work in any sense, so he knew he had to calm himself down and think wisely. He noticed smoke rising from a fire and remembered that saber-toothed tigers, like most beasts, were afraid of fire. Chen decided to use this knowledge to his advantage and planned to maneuver out of the situation. He then challenged the tiger to confront him head-on. As the tiger attacked, Chen tried to slide away downward, but to his shock, the tiger used his body as a surface to jump off of. Shocked, Chen started running again, deciding not to trust movies anymore. With no other choice, he ran towards the bonfire, using plants and other objects as cover to reach his destination safely. Dodging and hiding, Chen managed to reach near the bonfire. He quickly grabbed a stick with fire on it and tried to scare the tiger away. To his relief, the tiger was indeed frightened by the fire. Now Chen called out to the tiger to come and fight, but deep down, he was hoping the tiger would retreat. Suddenly, he heard a strange sound and tensely wondered if it was some kind of larger monster approaching him. Hearing the roar of another monster or animal, the saber-toothed tiger became tense and in fear, it ran away. Seeing this, Chen wondered what had scared the tiger off, and if it was running away, he considered what he should do next. Suddenly, Chen's system showed that the mission had been completed, and he received the reward of 2 attribute points. Hearing the sounds again, Chen decided to leave the area first, prioritizing his safety for the time being. He asked the system to allocate 1 point each to strength and agility. With enhanced agility and speed, he sprinted towards the primitive people. Chen noticed a significant increase in his agility and speed. Seeing Chen alive, Stonebone was surprised and asked him in confusion why he hadn't been eaten by the saber-toothed tiger. Chen smiled and replied that to him, the saber-toothed tiger was just like a kitty. So Chen easily defeated the saber-toothed tiger, causing it to run away in fear. Afterward, Chen smiled, hoping that now the primitive people would admire him. Chen received a new mission to assist the primitive people in building their homes, establishing a tribe, and increasing the population to 50 within 18 days. Chen counted and found that there were only a total of 15 people, including children. To expand the tribe to 50 people, he realized he would need to assimilate other tribes into theirs. The scene then shifted to nighttime, where everyone was sleeping, but Chen couldn't sleep because he was hungry. He decided to go and find some food for himself. He noticed that the primitives were so brave that they didn't keep anyone on watch while sleeping. However, his stomach growled again, prompting him to prioritize finding food first. He remembered the roasted lamb he saw earlier, but he was confused and tense about whether to go for it. If a saber-toothed tiger could scare someone, it meant there was something very frightening nearby. Chen tried to reassure himself that he wouldn't encounter the monster, because he needed to find food no matter what. So, with his axe in hand, he moved towards the place where he saw the roasted lamb earlier. Sometime later, Chen cautiously reached the place where the roasted lamb was. He approached carefully, mindful of any dangers. As he got closer, he noticed there were other prey animals nearby. Now that he was a leader, he knew he couldn't only think about himself. So he gathered all the other prey animals. On his way back, he had a strange feeling and suddenly fell into a pit. Furiously, he shouted about who dug the hole there. However, upon closer inspection, he realized it wasn't a hole at all, but rather huge footprints left by a monster or a large animal, like a dinosaur. He then thought that after encountering the saber-toothed tiger, he should have realized this wasn't just a barbaric place, but an era where history's scariest and deadliest creatures lived. He quickly decided to find a safe place for everyone, knowing he couldn't delay for long. The next morning, the primitives were fighting over the food. Seeing this, Chen became frustrated and shouted at everyone to stop snatching food from each other. He realized that the primitives still didn't understand modesty or economy, and he knew he had many things to teach them. Chen then announced that the current food would be given priority to the hunters who had joined him on the hunt that day. Stonebone added that they usually took turns hunting, and the previous day it had been him, Gun, and Huang Shi. Now it's Lu Ting, Heiju Jiao, and Lang Guchui's turn for the present-day hunt. Stonebone suggested that everyone wanted to come if their king was going. Everyone agreed with Stonebone, but Chen noticed the boy named Sam who had attacked him the previous day. Chen thought that Sam might be afraid he was holding a grudge against him, so he decided he needed to find a way to cheer Sam up. Chen announced to everyone that whoever wanted to could come with him, as he was searching for a place to build them a home. Hearing this, a girl named Mia came forward and asked what home meant. Chen explained that home was where they would live together as a community, much like how tree roots provide nourishment and security for current and future family members. Hearing this, Mia happily came and hugged Chen, asking if she could live with their king. Chen responded warmly, saying that everyone would be part of one big family in the future, and they would all live together. Mia got excited and started saying that the king was willing to live with her and have kids. Stonebone asked Chen where they were going to build their home. Chen gathered everyone and explained that they needed to find open land with mountains to the north and rivers to the south. And in that way, they would have access to drinking water, irrigation for farming, firewood, and stone materials for construction. It would also establish a relatively secure zone, reducing their risk of being attacked. He also mentioned that they could find enough seeds and wood for farming and building houses in the new location. Chen then thought it would be best if the settlement was near the seaside, as the delta could provide fertile land and a favorable environment for learning to navigate the sea in the future. Sam responded that he knew where the place Chen was mentioning was located. Chen was pleased and asked Sam if he could lead them there. Sam responded that the place wasn't very far, but he suggested they not go because there was a herd of cows that wasn't easy to deal with. Hearing this, Chen wondered why they should be afraid of cows, since they could provide rich meat and other domestic products. So Chen decided that the herd of cows would be their prey, and he asked everyone to get ready as they were heading east towards their new home. The scene then shifted to the place where Sam had taken everyone. He reassured Chen that the area was safe, so they could proceed without worries. Chen urged them not to waste time and assured them not to worry about the saber-toothed tiger, as it had been chased away. If it comes back, he'll save them. Sam explained that once they reached the top of the mountain, they could see where the cows gathered. Upon reaching the summit, Sam tensely instructed everyone to hide because the cows were below. Chen wondered if there were other monsters besides the cow herd. Suddenly, he caught a whiff of the sea and asked his system to open the map. He was pleased to see that it looked like a suitable area to build a city. Out of nowhere, Sam pulled him back and gestured for him to be quiet, warning that the cow herd might hear them. After some time, Chen checked his manual and found that there were 3 plants and 2 animals in the area ahead. The plants included green sunflower grass, dragon wine, and big tsubaki, while the animals were gray squirrels and pincer wasps. When Chen couldn't find any information about the cow herd, he asked Sam for its location. Sam explained that the cow herd was in a small forest near the river bend and offered to take them for a closer look. Half an hour later, they arrived at the forest, where Sam warned that going further could alert the cow herd to their presence. Chen was confused by the quietness around them and wondered why Sam was so concerned about the potential harm from a cow. Suddenly, his scanning results changed, and he grew tense, worrying if there were giant monsters nearby. To his relief, there was only one animal in the surrounding area. Chen then asked Sam if he remembered incorrectly. But before Sam could respond, Chen noticed a tree moving. Sam told Chen to look up, and when Chen did, he was shocked and wondered what type of monster it was. Upon checking the system, it showed that it was an iron black horn cow. Stonebone tensely asked Chen if they were really going to hunt that cow, hiding behind in fear. Chen responded tensely with a yes and instructed them to lay an ambush there while he went to assess the situation. Others were amazed by Chen, thinking he was so cool. However, behind the tree, Chen was crying, wondering why it had come to this because he didn't want the tribe to die. Now he had to rely on his agility attribute. He then checked and noticed that even the cow's arms were bigger than him, so he tried to find the smallest one. Calmly, Chen attempted to greet it, but upon seeing Chen, the cow's facial expression changed and it started roaring at him. Just as he approached, the entire herd of cows started chasing Chen. He swam across the river to the other side, crying out for them not to chase him. Meanwhile, the tribes misunderstood, thinking their leader Chen was bravely provoking the entire herd to keep them safe. They discussed it among themselves while Chen, without hesitation, leaped off the ridge and landed on it. Suddenly the ridge shook, leaving Chen to wonder what was happening. Looking down, he saw that a cow had crashed into the mountain because it couldn't stop itself. Chen got an idea of how to knock them all down because he noticed that the cows were unable to climb such heights. When they returned, Chen pondered what to do because he couldn't descend with the aggressive cows waiting below. So he had no choice but to climb upward. Chen managed to ascend, and upon reaching the top, he was stunned by the view. It was exactly what he had hoped for. He decided to build an entire empire in that perfect spot and felt elated that his journey had finally begun. On the other side, Sam noticed that the cow herd was retreating, so he wondered why it was happening and where their king was. Stonebone speculated whether their king had been crushed by the cows, so he climbed a tree to check, intending to retrieve Chen's axe. But as soon as he stepped onto the tree, Chen's axe came flying and landed beside him in the tree. Stonebone was stunned, and Chen praised him for his boldness in assuming their king had died. Sam and the others were relieved to see Chen alive. Stonebone asked if the cows were very strong. Chen replied that he planned to use cow meat as a nutritional supplement for his body, and asked if they also wanted to try it. Stonebone and Sam declined, saying they weren't a match for those cows, and even if they could defeat them, they wouldn't eat the meat. Chen furiously asked if they hadn't heard what he said, insisting that they just needed to answer his question. They all got scared and agreed that they wanted to eat it. Chen shared that he would teach them how to make weapons and how to hunt using them. He planned for them to return in 3 days to hunt down the cows. In the next scene, Chen cut a tree in half with one slash. Everyone was amazed at his strength, but Stonebone stepped forward and asked Chen why he cut down the tree since it didn't bear any fruit. Chen explained that they would use the tree to make weapons, so they should pay attention to what he was going to do. He instructed them on how to make spears from wooden sticks. Chen noticed that he had a technology attribute bonus when crafting weapons. Chen showed them how to use the spear for hunting by demonstrating how to throw it. The tribes were amazed because in the past, they had always gathered wood but never realized it could be used in such a powerful way. Excitedly, they all expressed their eagerness to try using the spear. Chen asked Stonebone to go first. While Stonebone practiced with the spear, Chen went on to make more spears. Within a few hours, all the tribes started practicing with the spears. While they were practicing, Chen challenged Lu Teng and Heiju Jiao to come at him together for a fight. Both of them charged furiously and attacked Chen, but he easily dodged their attacks. Chen then counterattacked, knocking out Heiju Jiao. Lu Teng, furious, attacked again, and this time some blood was drawn. Everyone was stunned. Chen told Lu Teng that if it had been the sharp side of the spear, he would have been dead by now. Lu Teng shouted that their king was a god and they couldn't defeat him. Chen explained that they were relying on brute force instead of technique, emphasizing that the spear's advantage lay in its tip. He instructed them to use the sharp edge to aim precisely at enemies or prey. Chen asked them to start practicing by focusing first on throwing. He set up a target and asked them to throw at it from a distance. Everyone tried one by one, but no one was able to hit it. Chen thought that maybe no one had any talent at all, and he felt he had been too hasty in his judgment. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a spear hit the target. Chen was surprised to see it, and the others were shocked that someone had actually hit it. Chen turned around and saw that Huang Shi was standing there. Chen asked Huang Shi if he was the one who threw the spear. Huang Shi asked if he had won. Chen replied with a yes and gave him 2 spears as a gift. Suddenly, someone came and told Chen that a beast was approaching them. Chen asked everyone to be ready for the fight, but deep down, he was happy that he could use this hunt to gain them some experience. A beast emerged from the forest and roared in front of everyone. Chen jumped towards the beast, shouting that they were going to have it as their dinner for the night. The fight started, and Chen instructed everyone to listen to his commands, circle around the beast, and wait for his orders. He then attacked the beast, and as he did, the beast's speed slowed down. Chen asked Stonebone and Huang Shi to throw their spears from the backside. As they attacked, the beast became furious and forcefully pushed Chen back, breaking his spear. Chen knew he needed to act quickly. But before that, Huang Shi threw the spear and it perfectly targeted the beast's mouth. Chen was impressed by Huang Shi's accuracy. Gradually, everyone started throwing spears at the beast, and Sam was waiting above, sitting in a tree. Due to the onslaught of attacks, the beast tried to flee, but Chen blocked its path and instructed Sam to attack. Sam jumped towards the beast and thrust his spear into its head. The beast became even more furious and entered a berserk mode. Everyone tensed up at the sight of the berserk beast. Sam was in danger, still holding the spear he had used to attack. Chen ran towards the beast and leaped to strike with his axe. There was a sudden blast, and the entire area filled with smoke. Everyone anxiously wondered if their king was okay. When the smoke cleared, Chen asked everyone to stop shouting, jokingly asking if they were trying to summon souls. He then praised everyone for their efforts and announced that they would have a hearty meal that night. Hearing this, everyone became happy. Chen then praised Sam for his exceptional work and told Huang Shi that he was the MVP of the hunt. He promised that in the future, Huang Shi would accompany him on hunts and that he would provide Huang Shi with new weapons to try out. The scene then shifted sometime later, where Stonebone was telling the other tribes how he had helped Chen defeat the beast. Mia was walking nearby with a piece of meat, and Stonebone asked her to give it to him. But Mia denied, saying that the meat was reserved for their king. She then offered it to Chen to eat. Chen asked if they were going to eat it raw. Mia asked if there was a problem with that. Chen mentioned that he remembered them using fire to cook, so he wondered why they were now eating it raw. Mia responded that they couldn't preserve the fire source from last time, so they had no choice but to eat it raw. Chen then thought that fire marked the beginning of civilization, as it allowed humans to fend off wild beasts, create a safer and more comfortable living environment, and improve their diet. He decided that to empower the primitive tribes, he would teach them how to make fire. Chen then asked everyone to gather around so he could teach them how to make fire. He took a broken spear and used it on a wooden block to create sparks. He instructed them to add wood shavings and tree fluff into the depression in the trunk and roll it between their hands to create friction and ignite the fire. Seeing the fire, the tribes were amazed and started praising Chen. Stonebone began shouting that their king had produced fire and wanted everyone to know. But Chen angrily grabbed him and told him to shut up, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a low profile. Chen received a reward of 10 technology points, and he realized that earning technology points was relatively easy, although he didn't initially know their use. Upon investigation, he discovered that technology points could be used to identify hereditary plaques, with each identification consuming 10 technology points. While Chen was pondering over the technology points, Sam approached and informed him that while they were dividing the meat, he noticed traces of nursing on the wild boar. He suspected that there might be cubs nearby, and upon searching the nearby areas, he actually found them. Suddenly, Chen received a side quest to fence in the wild boar cubs and domesticate them. The system asked Chen if he wanted to accept the quest. Chen then asks Mia and Sam to go together and bring back the boar cubs. He tells them to be careful and not hurt the cubs because he wants all of them. Mia holds Sam's hand, and they run to where the boar cubs are. Chen thought of making a pigsty before they returned, so he went and asked Stonebone to come after eating because he had some work for him. The scene then shifted to the evening, where Stonebone was carrying wooden branches and asked his friends why their king had asked them to bring so many branches. Upon returning to their den, Stonebone saw that the others were making something new. Confused, he asked Huang Shi what they were doing. Huang Shi responded that the king called it a grass rope, and it was sturdier than the vines they used before. He also explained the process. They had to smooth out the straw and then weave it into ropes by crossing. Stonebone got frustrated because he didn't understand what was going on. Chen asked Stonebone not to just stand there and to bring the branches to him. He then told everyone to pick up the branches and tie the grass ropes in a specific way. They needed to make at least 5 of those wooden frames. Then he asked them to insert the wooden frames into the pits he had prepared. After that, they were to bind the frames together at the top to form the shape of a cage and cover them with straw in an orderly manner. As soon as it was ready, the entire tribe rushed inside the pigsty and started fighting, each wanting to live there and have children with the king. Seeing them, Chen got tense and said that the pigsty wasn't for them. Just then, Sam and Mia returned with the cubs. Chen asked Sam to put the cubs in the pigsty he had made. Hearing this, Stonebone ran towards Chen, crying and shouting that he couldn't do that. Stonebone again asked Chen how such a good nest could be given to those wild boars. Agun also hugged Chen, agreeing with Stonebone and saying they all wanted to live in that nest. Stonebone added that they wanted a home where they could cuddle with the king. Hearing that, Chen furiously threw them away, saying he didn't want to cuddle with a man. He then stated that he didn't care if they wanted to live in the pigsty, but when they built comfortable houses, neither of them would have a place in them. Ah-gun was stunned upon hearing it and suggested that if there was a better nest available, he didn't mind living elsewhere and Chen could let Stonebone live in it. However, Stonebone also refused to live in the pigsty. Chen then instructed Sam to put all the boars in the pigsty. Huang Shi came to Chen and asked why they needed to care for those wild boars if they were meant to be their food. Chen responded by asking if they didn't want to have plenty of food to eat without hunting. Huang Shi was happy to hear it and responded with a yes. Chen explained that by raising those cubs and having them produce more piglets, they could secure a stable food source. Chen received his reward for completing the quest of taming the beasts. Upon opening it, he found a packet of salt from the supply chest and learned recipes for fried eggplant, stir-fried peanuts, fried eggs, roast lamb legs, and stir-fried clams. Confused by the rewards, Chen wondered if the system was suggesting he become a chef, considering their underdeveloped technology. His system indicated that completing these recipes could unlock special rewards. Seeing the recipes, Chen decided to give cooking a try. Late at night, everyone else was asleep except for Chen and Sam. Chen praised Sam for his daily hard work. Sam responded that he felt he had caused trouble for their king when they captured him, so he believed it was better for him to endure some hardships. Chen hugged him and laughingly reassured Sam that he held no grudges against him. He then asked Sam if there were any other tribes living nearby like theirs. Sam responded that they had encountered a few other tribes, but they were all unfriendly and looked quite different from them. Chen asked Sam to tell him more about where these tribes were located. Sam shared that he knew about 3 different clans nearby: the Coconut Grove clan, the Bay clan, and the Giant Stone clan. He mentioned they were located at a considerable distance, requiring at least a day and night of travel to reach their territories. Chen asked Sam to provide details about each of the clans. Sam shared that the Coconut Grove clan had around 30-40 members who disliked conflicts and were skilled in long journeys. Their leader was a formidable woman. Sam then described the Bay clan, noting that it also consisted of 30 to 40 members who looked terrifying. He mentioned that the Bay clan was known for constantly engaging in internal conflicts. Lastly, Sam talked about the Giant Stone clan, which was the most powerful with the largest population. They typically resided on a mountain in the southwest and only occasionally came down for activities. Sam mentioned that he had heard the leader of the Giant Stone clan possessed divine power and could defeat a tiger with bare hands. After hearing about everyone, Chen thought that if Sam's intel was correct, then the Coconut Grove clan would be the most ideal first target for assimilation. He reasoned that with the other groups full of complexities and potential conflicts, he would need to find a peaceful way to conquer them. Suddenly feeling someone behind him, Chen turned and found Mia hugging him from behind. She asked why he hadn't slept yet and if he wanted to do something exciting with her. Tensely, Chen responded with a no. Mia sat on the ground in a weird position and asked if she looked like a kitty. Chen felt tense and quickly took Sam by the hand, running away. He said that it seemed like Sam needed his help with something, so he would talk with her later. Mia felt a little sad by Chen's action. The scene then shifted to the next morning, where Chen and Sam were waiting for the Bay clan people to arrive near the seaside. The Bay clan people arrived at the seaside to hunt a dodo bird. Chen felt a little happy that they had come after waiting all night. However, he noticed that the Bay clan members started fighting amongst themselves over the bird. Chen wondered if they could absorb the Bay clan, not only to increase their numbers, but also to secure resources like the dodo birds. Sam responded that their numbers were not even half of those in the Bay clan, so they couldn't win in a fight. Chen then thought that if they had powerful weapons, maybe they could win, but first, they would have to deal with the herd of cows. Afterward, they could use the new resources to craft even more powerful weapons and equipment. So they headed back to their den, and everyone became happy upon seeing Chen return. Stonebone shared that they had thought their king had abandoned them. Chen apologized to everyone for making them worry and explained that they had a lot to do. He asked Stonebone to practice throwing spears and instructed Huang Shi to be in charge of teaching them throwing skills. Chen gave Huang Shi one day to make them as proficient as possible. Suddenly, Mia arrived and showed a leaf, mentioning its comfort for wiping after going to the bathroom. Chen replied that he needed help sharpening the wooden spears, so Mia should gather all the women and collect some rocks. The scene then shifted after some time, where Mia returned with the other ladies carrying rocks in their hands. Mia asked if the rocks were okay. Chen responded affirmatively and explained that they needed to rub the stones on the whetstone until a sharp edge or point was obtained. Then tie the stone onto a wooden stick with rope, and there they have it. A wooden stone axe. The girls were amazed by it, but Chen was furious when he received only 1 point as a reward. Chen then instructed them to follow his directions and show what they had made. Mia asked Chen to look, as she had already created one. When Chen looked, he saw that Mia had made a dual-edged axe, so he praised her for it. Mia was happy to hear the praises, and then Chen unlocked a new hidden feature called Talent Discovery. When Chen looked at Mia, his system indicated that she had a talent for tool building. Mia noticed Chen staring at her, so she asked him embarrassingly why he was looking at her. Chen didn't respond to her question and instead instructed the ladies to build as many spears and axes as they could. Gradually, they managed to create a total of 30 spears and axes. Chen praised Mia for creating more than half of the total weapons. Suddenly, he noticed that her hands were scratched and injured from rubbing the stones. Seeing Chen show concern for her, Mia blushed. At that moment, other girls also came and asked if Chen cared about them too. Chen responded that it's not what they think, but they got very close to him. He quickly ran away from there, declaring that it was enough for the day and that everyone could take a break. As he headed toward where the men were training and practicing, he suddenly got attacked with a log of wood, but somehow he dodged it and realized it was part of the tribe's training regimen, with Huang Shi teaching them well. Chen then asked Huang Shi about their progress. Huang Shi responded that everyone had made significant progress and could now easily hit their targets. Chen's talent discovery screen showed that Huang Shi was a throwing master. Huang Shi shared that Lu Ting had great strength but struggled with the timing of throws, and he could only unleash his potential when teamed up with Stonebone. Huang Shi also mentioned that Lang Gu Chui was the first to master the technique. What surprised him the most was the effectiveness of the yellow stone and wolfbone hammer. Individually, they were ordinary, but when used together as a team, they alternately threw 4 spears and scored the highest points. Chen was happy to hear it, thinking that now they could easily deal with the horde of black bulls. Stonebone asked if Chen was sure about it. Chen responded affirmatively, but to be safe, they should also bring the secret weapon. Huang Shi was surprised and asked which secret weapon Chen was referring to. Chen took out some black leaves and instructed everyone to look closely, asking them to collect as much as they could. He warned them not to touch the leaves with any open wounds on their hands, as the leaves contained a natural paralyzing drug. The scene then shifted to nighttime, where Chen beat a stone to make a mortar out of it. Meanwhile, Mia brought all the spears they had and asked Chen why he had dug a shallow pit in the stone. Chen responded that it was a mortar, and Mia would soon understand its use. He then asked her to gather all the ladies and use the stone club to crush the leaves in the pit. After crushing them, they were to apply the mixture on the tips of the wooden spears. Lu Ting came and asked Chen about the men, expressing their desire to join in with the club. Chen asked them to stay and rest, explaining that he needed them in the morning for the hunt. The scene then shifted sometime later, where Chen was eating grilled meat and putting salt on it. Suddenly, Mia came and threw a spear towards him, letting him know that the application had been done. Chen stood up and asked the ladies to stay behind to guard the place and their children. He instructed the rest of the people to accompany him to the mountain. Everyone became happy and prepared their weapons, ready to show the monsters what they were capable of. The scene then shifted after some time, where they reached the top of the mountain. Ah Gun asked the others if it was okay for their king to act as bait alone, expressing concern about the danger involved. Stonebone responded that their king was so powerful, so there shouldn't be any danger. Sam asked everyone to get ready, as there was movement near the river. Stonebone instructed Mia and the other ladies to make sure they handed out the spears on time, especially making sure Sam didn't run out of spears, as their king was taking a big risk and they couldn't afford to lose him. So, let's see what actually happened. 10 minutes ago, Chen was wandering near the black bulls and thinking that, like last time, escaping to Stone Mountain would be the best way. But being cautious, he decided to lure a small one first. He approached the smaller bull and threw a stone, declaring himself as the leader of the gang and challenging it to come and face him. Hearing this, the black bull became furious, and suddenly, 3 bulls started chasing Chen out of nowhere. While running, Chen asked Stonebone to aim at the first black bull. Stonebone quickly ordered everyone to get ready and then threw the spears all at once. It worked. The black bulls were injured. Taking advantage of the distraction, Sam threw spears aimed at the bulls' necks. They all collided on the mountain, and Chen jumped towards a ledge to get higher, but his hand slipped from the edge. Somehow Stonebone grabbed his hand and saved him. Chen ordered everyone to attack the bulls while they were weakened, so they continued their assault. Stonebone took charge and began commanding the attacks. Chen noticed Stonebone's leadership qualities and realized why Stonebone was so skilled at giving commands. He saw that Stonebone was worth cultivating into a capable leader. Stonebone then came and informed Chen that it seemed the bulls were calming down. Chen was happy to see that the tranquilizer worked faster than he expected. Suddenly, Sam shouted tensely that the other bulls were also charging towards them. Chen was surprised to see that the bulls were faster than he expected. He asked everyone not to panic, reassuring them that everything was going according to his plan. They just needed to deal with the 3 bulls below and ensure they didn't escape. The black bulls were trying to back away, but they were moving very slowly. Seeing this, Chen realized the poison was already working, so he told the others to aim at the bulls' legs and not let them escape. So, Stonebone asked everyone to throw their spears, and with that, all 3 bulls were knocked down and lying on the ground. Chen told them to stop, but Stonebone said that now wasn't the time for Chen to be soft-hearted, as they needed to deal with those 3 bulls before the others arrived. Chen asked how many spears they had left. Mia responded that they had 28 spears. Then Chen asked Sam to check how many bulls were arriving in the herd. Sam responded that there were about 20 bulls. Chen then explained that this was why he asked them to stop, as they had a limited number of spears. Huang Shi asked if giving up meant that all their efforts dealing with the 3 black bulls so far would be wasted. Chen responded with a no, explaining that this was just part of the plan. He never intended to face the entire herd with just a few of their squad members. From the beginning, the goal was to take down the bulls' leader. It's all because after that, the remaining black bulls would just scatter and flee. To lure out the boss, they need some bait, which is why Chen needs those black bulls alive and cannot let them go. Chen also mentioned that his original plan was to use only 1 bull as bait, but dealing with the extra 2 ended up using a considerable number of spears. Suddenly, Sam shouted that he could see the leader of the black bulls, and it looked like a giant monster. The leader of the bulls roared, and all the bulls started running towards the mountain to ram into it. At first, Chen and the others wondered if the bulls had gone mad. But soon, Chen realized that the bull boss didn't intend to fight. Suddenly, they realized that the mountain was starting to collapse. Chen shouted for everyone to hurry back and find cover, but Mia couldn't make it in time and fell to the ground as the mountain crumbled. Seeing this, Chen jumped towards the ground without thinking, asking Agun to come with him. Heiju, Jiao, and Langu Chui also followed, coming down to help. Now it's time for the battle, as they all had to fight no matter what. Heiju Jiao asked Agun what they should do, whether they should go and fight the bulls. Agun responded to not act recklessly and wait for the leader's call. At that moment, Chen was tense, thinking that the bull's boss had already seen through his trap, and he was frustrated by how intelligent the bull was. Stonebone asked the others who were left on the mountain to go and protect their leader, but Chen shouted and asked them to stop, emphasizing that they needed to attack with the spears from above. Now the fight began, with everyone engaging. Chen wielded his axe, while others used spears and stone axes. Through teamwork, defending themselves and attacking the bulls in coordinated strikes, they managed to injure many of the bulls. Taking the opportunity, Stonebone also urged those on the mountain to throw spears at the bulls. Seeing a few bulls knocked down, suddenly all the bulls stopped, and the boss bull said something to them. To Chen's surprise, the bulls started retreating. Seeing this, Chen wondered if the herd had received an order to back off because now the boss himself would join the fight. Out of nowhere, rain started falling, and the bull boss approached, inhaling the air and breathing out flames from his mouth. Seeing this, Chen tensely asked everyone to get aside and dodge the attack. The attack was so powerful that it created a hole in the mountain and even cleared a path to the top. On the other hand, all the tribes were scared to see the attack, wondering whether it was a sound wave or the roar of the bull. The impact was so intense that everyone's morale plummeted in seconds. Realizing this, Chen asked Agun to take Mia and the others northward while he himself would draw the bull boss's attention. He instructed Stonebone to wait for his command and declared to the bull boss that he would be his opponent. The battle started head-on, with Chen attempting to block the bull boss, but the bull boss easily threw Chen aside. Chen then considered using the path created by the bull boss's attack. But the boss bull chased Chen and slammed into the mountain, causing a big blast. Seeing this, others became tense, fearing their leader was lost, but ultimately decided not to retreat and to fight with full determination. Suddenly Chen's axe swung and struck the boss bull's head. Chen was alive, and this happened because he had used the hole created in the mountain a few minutes ago. Chen even thanked the bull boss for sparing his life, though deep down he knew he was heavily injured. Seeing Chen alive, the tribes felt a sense of relief, but Chen shouted at Stonebone to get ready and wait for his command. The fight continued, with Agun and Heiju Jiao attempting to draw the bull boss's attention so Chen could attack from behind. Agun bravely jumped towards the bull boss but was injured by his horn. Chen quickly intervened, attacking the bull boss's face to free Agun from the horn's grasp. The bull boss unleashed another flame attack, but everyone managed to dodge it, and Chen retaliated with a successful strike, creating a wound on the bull boss's body. He then shouted to Stonebone and Sam to throw their spears at the wound. They successfully aimed at the wounds, causing the bull boss to stumble and fall to the ground. Everyone wondered if they had won and started celebrating the victory. However, Chen remained confused because the herd of bulls was still waiting and not attacking, even after their leader had died. Out of nowhere, the bull boss stood up again and attacked Chen, unleashing a furious flamethrower. Stonebone and Huang Shu were shocked to see this, and Chen himself was tense because he had let his guard down at that moment. Now the bull boss pulled the spear from his own body and hurled it towards Chen. Chen, injured and unable to move quickly, wondered if this was the end for him. To his shock, Mia stepped in between them and took the spear attack herself. First, Chen was stunned, recalling the moments he had shared with Mia. Suddenly, he felt a surge of furious anger overwhelming him. Despite his system warning of overload, Chen furiously jumped towards the bull. Chen then slashed the bull boss with all his strength from top to bottom. Surprisingly, this time the bull boss was indeed cut in half from Chen's powerful attack. Chen was in full furious mode and shouted at the rest of the bulls to come and fight him, daring whoever wanted to die to face him. As the bulls looked at each other, the moment Chen moved forward, they started retreating and running away. Afterward, Chen felt relieved, but his system indicated his life was in danger. Suddenly, he coughed up blood and began to faint slowly. Everyone rushed to check on him, but before losing consciousness, he looked at Mia and instructed them to retrieve and apply hemostatic ointment. The scene then shifted to several days later, in a pigsty where Chen woke up from unconsciousness. As he opened his eyes, he saw Ayu standing in front of him. Chen first asked if it was the pigsty he had set up, but Ayu denied it, explaining that they had moved to this place after driving away the bulls, and the shed was built for him. She then asked him to lie down while she went to inform everyone that he had woken up. Chen asked Ayu to first tell him about Mia and Langu Chui. Ayu responded that when they found Langu Chui, he was on his last breath, but he recovered quickly. After waking up, Langu Chui had been standing outside, guarding Chen ever since. Ayu then shared that Mia's injuries were a bit more severe, but thanks to the king's divine medicine, as long as Mia rested more, she would be fine. Everyone else was also doing well. Chen was relieved and happy that everyone was okay. Ayu agreed, saying that everyone's health had stabilized over the past 4 days. Hearing this, Chen was shocked and asked, What did she mean by 4 days? Chen checked the system and realized that 4 days had indeed passed, leaving him with only 11 days left to complete the mission. Yu was also confused, noting that their king often seemed lost in thought, staring into the air for reasons unknown. He then tried to stand up but couldn't. Yu asked Chen to rest, but he insisted he was fine and asked her to call Stonebone immediately. She agreed and hurried out of the shed. Chen then realized that without combat or deterrent power, if this secret got out, their mission could fail in an instant. Now that they had moved to a new place, they needed to quickly build a fence around it, and later replace it with wooden walls for better security. Until Stonebone arrived, Chen asked him to listen from outside. Stonebone agreed, and then Chen whispered something to him in a secretive manner that no one else could hear. Stonebone then went to carry out the task Chen had given him. Chen then realized it wasn't enough, as they couldn't afford to make the same mistake as last time. He knew he had to ensure that everything was foolproof this time. Chen then told Langu Chui that he had a task for him. Langu Chui asked Chen to explain. Chen asked Langu Chui to retrieve the bones and hides of the Black Bull King, ensuring the hides were as intact as possible. To Langu Chui's surprise, Chen gave him his own weapon for the task. After they both left, Yu asked Chen to rest, but Chen refused, saying he needed to talk to her. He asked her to come inside where they could speak privately, away from everyone else. When she came inside, Chen explained that he had sent the others away to assign her an important mission. Upon hearing this, Yu responded affirmatively and began to undress. She had misunderstood Chen's intention, thinking he wanted to initiate a romantic encounter. Seeing the misunderstanding, Chen became tense and shouted at Yu to put her clothes back on. Yu felt embarrassed upon realizing her mistake. Chen then clarified that he wanted her to stage a play, as he planned to send someone to negotiate with the Coconut Grove clan. The goal was to persuade the Coconut Grove clan to join and follow Chen's command. Yu tensely asked if Chen thought the Coconut Grove clan, with its larger numbers, would agree to join them. Chen responded that this was precisely why they needed to demonstrate their team's strength and convince the Coconut Grove clan to join immediately. Chen explained 2 reasons for choosing Yu. Firstly, their tribe was led by females, so as a woman, she could communicate more effectively with them. Secondly, only she knew about his current situation, as his all-out attack had caused catastrophic damage to his body. Though the ointment had prevented it from worsening, he still needed a better treatment. Yu smiled and asked if they were planning to scare the Coconut Grove clan with a bluff. She assured Chen that she knew what to do, so he could rest and leave everything to her. The scene then shifted to some time later, where Sam and Yu were heading towards the Coconut Grove clan. Sam told Yu that even though the Coconut Grove clan disliked conflicts, he still believed that they shouldn't provoke them at the present time. She responded that she understood, and they continued on. Upon reaching their destination, Sam showed Yu a fountain where every girl of the Coconut Grove clan was bathing. Then, Sam pointed out the leader of the Coconut Grove clan, the person they were looking for. While they were discussing, they were discovered by some members of the Coconut Grove clan. The scene then shifted to some time later, where Yu and Sam were presented in front of Lisa, the leader of the Coconut Grove clan. The girls told Lisa that they had captured Yu and Sam sneaking around, claiming they had come as envoys to visit the leader of their clan. Sam shouted that they were not mere visitors but ambassadors, a title bestowed upon them by their king. Lisa responded by mocking them, commenting that Yu lived like a slave and the men fed the fish, with the meat serving as dinner for a few days. She then had Sam taken away from Yu. Yu shouted that she had expected the queen of the Coconut Grove clan to be more farsighted, but it seemed she was mistaken. She declared that the mountain of meat they had planned to give would now go to the Bay clan instead. Lisa asked her underlings to wait and let Yu finish speaking. Then Lisa asked Yu if she had said there was a mountain of meat. Yu responded affirmatively, explaining that it referred to a group of large black bulls living near the northern river. Lisa then asked Yu if she wanted to join forces with the Coconut Grove clan to hunt the black bull herd. Yu laughed and told Lisa not to underestimate them, explaining that they had already taken down the black bull herd and that the area near the river already belonged to them. Hearing this, the women of the Coconut Grove clan were stunned and murmured that Yu must be exaggerating, recalling how their clan had almost been trampled by the black bull herd last time. Lisa stood up and asked Yu if she knew the fate of those who lied to her. Yu responded confidently, stating that even the largest of the black bulls had been defeated by their king. She invited Lisa to see for herself if she didn't believe it. When a girl tried to warn Lisa, Yu laughed, dismissing their concerns and jokingly suggesting that if their king wished, he could easily topple the entire Coconut Grove clan. Sam also agreed and shared that they hadn't come to attack. They came bearing gifts and to deliver their king's invitation. He questioned why there was any doubt about their sincerity. Yu then furiously added that if the queen lacked the courage to go herself, she could send someone to retrieve the meat. Seeing Yu like that, Lisa became a bit tense but still warned Yu that they better not be playing any tricks. The scene then shifted to a moment later, where Yu and Sam returned with Lisa and her group. Sam shared that they had returned. Stonebone shouted at Sam not to make a big fuss about it and to go help the others build the houses. Upon hearing this, a girl asked Lisa what the houses were. Yu then informed Chen that the people from the Coconut Grove clan had arrived. Seeing Chen, Lisa became tense and felt a strong killing intent emanating from him. It felt as though she was facing an ancient beast. In reality, Chen had dressed himself as a beast from ancient times. Chen responded to Yu that she had done well. Seeing Chen's intense demeanor and way of speaking, Lisa became tense. Suddenly, they heard a sound coming from the bushes. It turned out to be Mia, Lang Guchui, and Ah Gun hiding inside, as Chen had instructed all the injured people to remain hidden so they wouldn't be visible. Ah Gun shared that he was just curious to see what the queen of the Coconut Grove clan looked like. Chen then expressed his gratitude to Lisa and her clan for accepting his request and making the trip to their land. A girl from the Coconut Grove clan furiously asked where the meat Chen had mentioned was. Chen calmly responded that it was just around the corner and they could take as much as they could carry. When they arrived at the location, they were stunned to see a literal mountain of meat. Hejijian and Lutung were cutting the meat. A girl from the Coconut Grove clan approached them to take some, but they informed her that the meat was tough. When she tried to cut it from a stick, the stick broke under the pressure. Seeing this, Lutung and Hejijian started laughing. The girl shouted and asked what was so funny, stating that they were lucky to catch the bulls during their dispute. Hejijian furiously asked if the girl wanted to fight with them. Suddenly Chen's axe slammed into the ground, causing the girls from the Coconut Grove clan to become scared and tense. Chen had thrown it to separate them and stop the fighting. Lisa nervously asks, "What kind of weapon is that?" "It's much better than our ironwood branches and bone knives." Chen then tells her to use his Pangu axe to cut some meat for the Coconut Grove clan. Hejijian asks why they are helping the girls when they were the ones who provoked them first. Chen angrily tells him to follow orders. Reluctantly, Hejijian does the task, telling the girls they are lucky. Chen tells Lisa that he will make sure she can take the meat without any trouble, as he always keeps his word, and it's his principle. Lisa nervously asks how he managed to conquer that herd of bulls. Chen responds that it depends on future developments, whether it's mutual understanding or personal experience. He then asks Lisa to call it a day, take the meat, and leave. Lisa says that he seems very cold-hearted. At that moment, Chen was tense and thought that his last throw was a bit too much of a show-off. If it weren't for the bull leather bandage, his wound would probably start bleeding again. Suddenly, it started bleeding a little, and Chen became worried about what to do next. To his relief, Ah Yu distracted Lisa, giving Chen time to hide his bleeding wound. Ah Yu told Lisa that they have some strong weapons that she could give to the Coconut Grove clan. But Lisa turned back and declined, saying that those types of weapons were not suitable for them. She told Chen that they also have some powerful weapons they hadn't shown him, and hoped they wouldn't have to use them someday. Lisa then told her clan members to take whatever they could and head back. Ah Yu told them that if it wasn't enough, they could come back, but it would be better to come earlier as the other clans also needed their share. While on the way back, Lisa asked how the investigation was going. Suddenly, some more girls appeared and reported to the queen. It turns out that Lisa had secretly assigned some girls to observe everything while staying hidden. The girl named Maya shared that they found the boys building something called a house, and inside there might be some boars, as they occasionally heard their growls. Upon hearing this, Lisa was stunned and wondered if Chen had actually built such a good dwelling for boars. Maya also shared that what was even more incredible was that Chen's clan had mastered the power of the fire god. Lisa responded that it was impossible. Maya explained that they saw them create fire out of thin air to roast the meat. Maya tried to say something more but hesitated. Lisa urged her to speak up and not hesitate. Maya shared that Chen's clan consisted of just a little over 10 people in total, including a few children and some old men. She also mentioned that she believed Chen's clan intentionally concealed their true population size. Lisa asked Maya why she didn't search more carefully. Maya responded that since the nearby trees had been cut down, they couldn't get close without risking exposure. Therefore, they could only hide in the woods and observe from a distance. Lisa responded with an okay, and suddenly started whipping them with a whip. She then warned that if they dared to make excuses again next time, the consequences wouldn't be as simple as a whipping. Maya bowed down and thanked Lisa for not punishing them more severely. The scene shifts to Chen's place where he was relieved and Ayu came over to ask about his health. Chen responded that dealing with the herd of bulls had a strong effect on him. Chen noticed that Ayu had a talent for eloquence. She then asked if, compared to the queen of the Coconut Grove clan, Chen would prefer her. Chen tensely asked her not to misunderstand anything. Chen then asked Ayu to let the guys who were hiding outside come in and assist him in continuing to recover. He also mentioned that he would have Lang Guchui guard the entrance until he fully recovered. Ayu responded with an okay and then mentioned that Chen was looking very cool. Upon hearing this, Chen became embarrassed and blushed. Suddenly, Sam arrived and said that Chen was truly amazing because the Coconut Grove clan had indeed set up observation posts around their camp, just as Chen suspected. Chen asked Sam about the other task he had assigned. Sam responded that it was done, explaining that the Coconut Grove clan only saw what Chen wanted them to see and didn't see what they shouldn't. Chen then praised Sam for his hard work. Sam became happy and responded that it was nothing, mentioning that he was now going to help Stonebone and the others build the house. After Sam left to help, Ayu asked Chen whether he thought the Coconut Grove clan would truly join their clan voluntarily. Chen responded that it was too early to say, as the plan was only halfway done. He suggested that when the Coconut Grove clan visited again next time, they could proceed with the second half of the plan. Chen then went to rest in his shed and checked his supplies, realizing he only had 11 days left and not enough time to fully recover from his injuries. He asked the system to open the warehouse and found that he only had a packet of salt and 1 tube of hemostatic ointment left for use. Chen's system showed that his axe had been upgraded to the axe of Pangu. Shocked, Chen wondered when his axe had been upgraded. He became even more tense, realizing he had overlooked it when he handed it to Lang Guchui in the morning. He then checked his spears, and the activation condition displayed on the screen was blood sacrifice. Chen thought it must have been activated when he got injured in the battle. From the description, it seemed using creating the world must be timed correctly. It couldn't be too early or too late. He then wondered if any other weapons also had hidden attributes like his axe. However, he soon dismissed the thought because the activation conditions must be different for each weapon. Chen decided to leave it to fate. He then checked the remaining items and saw the hemostatic ointment, but there was only enough left for one use. Chen decided to save it for a critical moment. Otherwise, he could rely on swinging the axe to hunt all the creatures nearby. Chen thought that the meat the Coconut Grove clan had taken would be enough for 2 days, and time was limited, so he had to rely on Sam for now. He asked Lang Guchui to call Sam as he had some work for him. After some time, Sam arrived and asked what happened. King. Chen asked Sam if he remembered those black bulls they had driven away, and told him he had 2 days to find them and come back to report. Upon hearing the task, Sam immediately started running to complete it, shouting that he would return very soon after finding the black bulls. Meanwhile, Chen thought that everyone was working hard, so he decided to prepare some gifts for all the clan members. While Sam searched for the remaining black bulls, Chen worked on making the gifts. After 2 days, Chen checked the screen and saw that there were now 9 days left to complete the mission. He also received some technical points for creating a stone spearhead, a bone whistle, and a bullhorn water flask. Chen thought of giving the whistle to Stonebone, making it convenient for him to command during battles or hunting. The stone spearheads could enhance the killing power of a wooden spear, increasing their chances of victory if conflict arose with the Coconut Grove clan. Lastly, the bullhorn water flask would be for Sam. Suddenly, Ayu came and told Chen that there was good news. Their houses were built. Chen asked her to let's go and see the house. When Chen arrived to see the house, Stonebone happily showed him their creations. After which, Stonebone shouted and asked if it wasn't cool, right? Chen didn't like it much, but for the time being, he responded with a yes. Hearing this, everyone became happy because now they didn't have to live in cages or search for branches anymore. Everyone was getting happy, but Chen was still a bit frustrated. Nonetheless, Stonebone went ahead and put the straw door in place, completing everything. The moment they placed the door, Chen received 10 technical points for building the house. As Chen looked around carefully, he realized that the tribe had changed a lot since he arrived. Initially, they had been like wild beasts, surviving on drinking and fur, but now he could see significant changes in their behavior and intelligence becoming more evident. Chen then wondered if all these changes were possible because of the system, which seemed like an accelerated evolution. He then asked them to inform him when Sam would return, and headed back to his shed. Suddenly, Sam arrived shouting that he found them. Chen praised Sam for his work and announced to everyone that they could now finally move on to the second half of the plan. He then asked everyone to follow him and called Stonebone aside, saying he needed to talk to him. After a few minutes, Chen explained something to them and asked if anyone had any questions about the plan. Stonebone tensely asked if the plan would work and expressed concern about its risks. Sam reassured him not to worry, stating that he would handle it, and when the time came, Stonebone would need to lead the others with him. Chen then gave the whistle to Stonebone, explaining that he could now easily command the others. He also told Sam that he had prepared a gift for him, which he would give after the mission. Sam was delighted. Finally, Chen smiled and reminded them all to remember that whenever they received his signal, they had to act accordingly. Huangshi, Sam, Stonebone, and Lu Teng were going to do the work Chen had assigned. Chen wondered that their manpower was really stretched thin, so he had no choice but to assign tasks to those who were injured. So Chen asked Ayu to have Mia and Lang Guchui build a larger bonfire in front of the wooden house, but instructed them not to light it yet. Ayu asked if it was for the guests who were about to arrive. Chen responded with a yes and wondered if the bait they had set 2 days ago would work or not. After some time, a girl was working when suddenly she noticed that many people from the Coconut Grove clan were heading towards their clan. So she ran tensely and told Chen that the Coconut Grove clan had arrived. Inside the house, Ayu was taking care of him, and Chen thought it was nice to be taken care of like that. He planned that once he subdued the Coconut Grove clan, he would have both Lisa and Ayu take care of him. Upon hearing about the arrival of the Coconut Grove clan, Ayu went out to welcome them. Ayu asked Lisa to come inside the palace, saying their king was waiting for her. Hearing the word palace, Lisa was stunned and wondered how Chen's clan had managed to transform from a thatched shed to a wooden house. Lisa smiled and asked Ayu if her king was too scared to come out and see them, mentioning that they didn't want to disturb Chen's clan again in the future. She added that they would take more meat this time as compensation. Lisa also mentioned that her subordinates wanted to meet their neighbors, so she brought some of them along and hoped they didn't scare Chen's clan. Ayu laughed and said their king had already instructed them to prepare 40 portions of meat in advance, so Lisa could go ahead and take it. But it seems she didn't bring 40 people. Lisa asked Ayu why she didn't join their Coconut Grove clan if she was concerned about them, offering her to serve alongside her. Ayu responded that she had long been won over by the might of her king, so she thanked Lisa for her kindness, but declined. Ayu then showed them the place where the meat was kept and said that if they couldn't take it all, they were welcome to eat as much as they wanted on the spot. She also offered assistance, saying that if the Coconut Grove clan had difficulty cutting the meat, they could ask some warriors from Chen's clan for help. Lisa ordered her subordinates to go and eat peacefully while she went to meet Chen. Upon entering, Chen welcomed Lisa warmly. Lisa blushed upon seeing Chen in the elegant house, finding it very impressive. But she tried to maintain her composure and asked Chen if this was his place, noting that it looked quite decent. Chen wondered if Lisa was quite interested in the house, so he decided to continue impressing her. Chen told her that it was just a temporary makeshift house, and once they built the real palace, this place would be given to the tribes. Lisa was stunned and asked if he would let his tribe live in such a place. Chen responded that he knew it was a bit rudimentary, but he would provide them with better stone houses later on. Suddenly, Lisa took out her whip and tied Chen with it, then quickly moved closer to him. Chen tensely asked what she was doing. Lisa responded that no one understood men better than her, and she had plenty of ways to make him willingly offer those strange things to her. Lisa was wondering if it would be enough to make Chen surrender. Even though Chen found it very stimulating, he maintained a serious expression and laughed, asking if she really thought she could force him to submit like that, and if he didn't have any backup plan. But deep down, Chen was feeling despair because he didn't have any backup plan at all. Things were out of control, his injuries hadn't fully healed, making a direct fight already tough, and now the situation was even worse for him. Suddenly, to Chen's relief, Ayu came inside and announced that everything was ready for the feast to begin. However, upon seeing Chen and Lisa in that situation, Ayu was stunned and shouted that Chen shouldn't be doing something like that. Lisa removed her whip, and Chen suggested they had talked enough, so they should go out for a barbecue. He then asked Ayu if she had lit the fire. Meanwhile, Lisa was pondering whether Chen's ability to withstand her coercion and maintain a poker face meant he truly had a backup plan, or if he simply wasn't afraid of death. Compared to the members of her clan, Chen seemed quite different in his demeanor. When they went outside, the girls of the Coconut Grove clan happily asked Lisa to come and check the meat as it smelled really nice after being grilled. Chen also gave some salt to Ayu to distribute among the people of the Coconut Grove clan. Ayu offered the salt to everyone, suggesting they sprinkle it on their food to enhance the flavors. Lisa furiously asked Ayu what she was sprinkling. Ayu responded to Lisa that she didn't need to eat if she was afraid. But seeing her own clan's people praising the food, Lisa understood. Chen was also happy seeing them enjoy, hoping they would eat as much as they could to give Sam and Stonebone more time to complete their task. The scene then shifted to Stonebone and the others, who were near the black bulls. Luteng asked why they needed to hunt the bulls again when they already had enough meat to finish. Stonebone responded that they were not there to hunt the bulls, and instructed Luteng to just follow the command. Suddenly, receiving a signal from Huangshi, they all threw their spears towards the black bulls. As a result, the entire herd starts running. Stonebone shouts to Sam that the bulls are charging towards him. Sam tells them not to worry and jumps from the tree to attack the neck of a bull. After successfully penetrating with his spear, Sam shouts that he has done it, and now the bull is his. Due to the attack, the bull starts running around wildly. Sam tries to gather his courage and not be afraid. He knows he can handle it. From a distance, Huangshi notices that the herd is heading east. So Stonebone signals Sam, and Sam realizes the direction is wrong. He turns the bull to the right, and the bull then starts rushing towards the west. The scene shifts back to Chen's den, where the girls of the Coconut Grove clan are eating calmly and happily. Meanwhile, Chen is waiting for the signal when suddenly a defender of the Coconut Grove clan comes running towards his den. Lisa notices and asks why she is so flustered and what's going on. The girl, crying, shares that a group of mad black bulls has stormed into their camp, causing havoc everywhere, and their defenders are no match for them. Hearing this, Lisa furiously stands up and tells everyone to get back to the base, vowing to make those crazy bulls pay. But deep down, she was tense, thinking they had always kept their distance from those black bulls. She wondered what had suddenly caused this disaster. On the other side, in the Coconut Grove clan camp, the girls were unable to fight off the black bulls. They tried using slingshots, but it wasn't enough as they didn't hurt the bulls at all. So, they decided to engage in melee combat and rescue their sisters below. But the moment she jumped down, she was attacked by the bulls and was about to be hit again. To their relief, Lisa arrived and tied the bull's leg with her whip. Seeing her, they felt a surge of hope and happiness. Lisa furiously shouts at the crazy bulls, asking how they dare to harm her people. She knocks down one bull, but it isn't enough. The bull stands back up and charges at Lisa, ramming into her. The impact sends her flying through the air, and her whip slips from her hand, but Chen arrives just in time to catch her. He asks Lisa if she is okay. Lisa, feeling defeated, responds that she is fine, but is puzzled by how the bulls appeared out of nowhere. Standing nearby, Huangshi, Sam, Luteng, and Stonebone were trying to act innocent, hiding their faces here and there because they were the ones responsible for the incident. Chen then angrily stares at the bulls, asking if they have forgotten the pain after their scars have healed. The bulls roar and start moving towards Chen, who becomes tense, wondering if the bull doesn't recognize him. He questions whether his leather cloak made from the hide of the Black Bull King was not intimidating enough. To his relief, the bull begins to retreat. Chen then shouts out that it looks like they have a new king for their herd. He tells the bull boss that he seems much weaker than the last one, and since he's here, he can stay. Without waiting, everyone from Chen's clan attacks the bulls, and Stonebone asks Sam to focus on the bull boss. With Stonebone's assistance, Sam jumps over the bull and begins trying to control it to ride it. Chen noticed that Sam had a talent for riding. As his clan tried to gain control over the bulls, Chen asked Lisa to leave, but she refused, pointing out that the herd had not yet dispersed. Chen stops Lisa from going to fight, telling her that she couldn't handle the monsters and that he hadn't brought enough people, so it would be like walking into death. Lisa falls silent, unsure of how to respond. Chen asks Lisa again why she didn't temporarily bring her people to his place, where they could heal and wait for the right time to reclaim their territory. He assures her that he would provide housing, food, and ensure their safety. Yu also urges Lisa to consider the condition of her people, pointing out that they are not in a state to fight. He asks her if she wants to watch them sacrifice themselves in vain. Finally, Lisa announces that she asks the Coconut Grove clan to help the wounded and retreat to the north, to Chen's place. Upon hearing this, a girl named Ayun became furious, but she couldn't disobey the queen's order. She told the injured to follow Chen's people. Chen told Yu that he was giving her the responsibility to take the Coconut clan back to their camp, while he and Stonebone stayed behind to buy them some time. Yu agreed, and they all left. Meanwhile, Stonebone and the others were fighting, but Ayun also joined the fight. Seeing this, Stonebone told her to retreat if they were afraid, as they had already defeated the bulls once, so there was no need to rush. But Ayun didn't agree and attacked the bulls. Chen also told Stonebone to leave her and focus on defeating the bulls, because he believed those girls were very courageous. The scene shifted to the evening, where everyone returned to Chen's camp. A girl named Maya, from Chen's side, happily welcomed them, saying she was glad everyone was safe. Maya also asked about Chen and the others. Yu shared that Chen and the others stayed behind to buy them time to return with the injured ones. Maya said that the girls from the Coconut Grove clan could stay in the houses they had built. Maya sighed with relief, thinking that if it weren't for Mia and the others working hard despite their injuries to quickly build the houses, they wouldn't have anywhere to put the girls from the Coconut Grove clan. After that, Yu told Lisa that everyone was settled in the houses, and food and safety were guaranteed, so there was no need to worry. She also asked Lisa to rest for the time being. Lisa responded with a thank you. Yu sighed with relief as everything went smoothly and remembered Chen's words. Chen had told her that the focus of the entire plan was to subdue the Coconut Grove clan with minimal cost, since they couldn't afford any more injuries after just finishing a tough battle. Now, only the last step of their plan was left. The scene then shifted to the next day, where Mia asked Heiju Jiao if everything went smoothly last night. Heiju Jiao responded with a yes, saying he had been guarding all night and nothing had happened. Ayun was guarding Lisa's house when she suddenly felt it had become cloudy above her. Looking up, she saw it was Mia who had come to greet her. Ayun tensely asked Mia what she wanted. Mia said that their king had invited Lisa to his palace because he wanted to discuss something important with her. The scene shifted to Chen, who was checking his system and feeling tense because there were only 8 days left to complete the mission. Someone knocked at the door, and it was Lisa who had come to see him. Lisa shared that Yu had told her about the clan merger, and her answer was no, she couldn't agree to it. Lisa also told Chen not to think he could force her just because their Coconut Grove clan was temporarily weakened. Chen responded that he wasn't forcing her, he was offering a trade. He said he could teach her how to build houses, craft weapons, and make fire, and in exchange, the Coconut Grove clan would need to merge into his tribe. He asked Lisa again to accept his request and stay under his protection. Chen then moved closer to Lisa and said that sometimes things required more than courage. He reminded her that she was more aware of the brutality of the Bay clan and the strength of the Giant Stone clan than he was. He told her that right now, she was like a wounded fawn, and soon the bloodthirsty beasts would follow the scent of her blood and hunt her down. Lisa, frustrated, asked Chen to stop, saying she knew all that, but it wasn't that simple. She explained that she couldn't force the girls of the Coconut Grove clan to accept the rule of a stranger. Unless he defeated them in a duel, only then would the girls accept him. Lisa again asked Chen if he was willing to accept the challenge. Chen smiled and responded with a yes. Coming outside, Chen told the girls of the Coconut Grove clan that since their queen was injured and couldn't participate in the duel, to ensure fairness, he wouldn't participate either. So Chen announced that he would send Stonebone to fight on his behalf. Stonebone laughed and asked who wanted to fight him. Ayun stepped forward and said she would accept his challenge. Stonebone smiled and told her to be careful and not get hurt by him. Ayun also told him to be careful and not get pecked by her eagle weapon. The fight started and Ayun threw a bone knife toward Stonebone. At first, Stonebone laughed, but then he noticed that Chen was right behind him, and if he dodged the attack, Chen would get hurt. So Stonebone blocked the first knife with his axe, but suddenly a second knife broke through and nicked his helmet. Stonebone was still okay and became furious, charging at Ayun aggressively. Ayun was in danger when suddenly, a girl from the Coconut Grove clan jumped out of the group and threw another knife at Stonebone's helmet. At the same time, Ayun made him fall to the ground. Stonebone shouted that someone ambushed him, and it wasn't a fair duel. As Stonebone fell to the ground, Ayun grabbed a knife and jumped toward Chen to attack him. Surprisingly, Chen didn't move an inch to save himself because he had already assigned Huang Shi for that task. Huang Shi was hiding on the rooftop of the palace and threw a spear at Ayun to protect Chen. The spear knocked Ayun down. Seeing this, all the girls from the Coconut Grove clan ran towards Tina, furious and shouting at Chen. They accused him of playing dirty and conspiring to bring them into his territory. Stonebone and Ayu became tense due to the intense situation. The girls asked Lisa to give them the order, claiming they would wipe everyone out. Chen also became tense, realizing he hadn't anticipated an assassination in the plan, wondering if the girls from the Coconut Grove clan were trying to provoke a fight. Chen also wondered whether it was Lisa's command or something happening without her knowledge. If Lisa the queen had ordered it, then he could consider holding her as a hostage. To Chen's surprise, Lisa furiously ordered her clan people to stop. She shouted, asking if they thought their little plot would deceive her, stating that she would never condone treating friends who had helped them in such a despicable way. Lisa shared that she didn't want to investigate who was involved in the assassination plan, but the duel was their loss. She then told Chen that Ayun was the Coconut Grove clan's most loyal and brave warrior, and if it weren't for her, Ayun wouldn't have abandoned her dignity and pride to do something like that. Lisa then said that she knew Chen had remarkable abilities, capable of summoning miracles. She asked if he could be magnanimous enough to spare Tina's life, then the Coconut Grove clan would forever be grateful. Chen appeared very serious outwardly, but deep down, he was relieved that it wasn't the worst outcome and that the initiative to control the situation was back in his hands. He then thought about the hemostatic ointment and assured Lisa not to worry, saying he wouldn't let Ayun die because they were all allies now. A girl asked Chen to hurry up as Ayun was fading fast. While going to help, Chen thought that he would overlook Tina's assassination attempts for the greater good, but there still had to be consequences for her actions. So Chen decided to apply only a small amount of medicine to keep Ayun alive, but not to bring her back to full health immediately, reserving the rest of the ointment for treating his own injuries. After applying the ointment, he instructed others to carry Ayun back to her house, assuring them that she would recover in a few days. Seeing this, the girls of the Coconut Grove clan started praising Chen, believing it to be a miracle. Chen hugged Lisa and asked if her people could now merge into his tribe. Blushing with happiness, Lisa responded with a joyful yes. Chen smiled and told Lisa that she could continue leading her people as long as they obeyed his command. Lisa then shared that she had one final request. Chen needed to become her partner, and they should have a ceremony to formalize their relationship. Hearing this, Chen became happy and blushed, thinking it was like a gift falling into his lap. He imagined they would have a wedding, exchange rings, enter their bridal chamber, have a daughter together, accompany their daughter as she grew up, witness her wedding, grow old together, and finally depart to the afterlife together. Seeing Chen making weird faces, Lisa tensely asked what was wrong, wondering if he didn't want to have the partner ceremony. Chen quickly responded that he definitely wanted it and hugged her tightly. Then Chen asked Lisa to rest and recover properly, as he also needed some time to prepare for the ceremony. He then ordered everyone to go and rest, instructing them to return for the ceremony in a few days. After that, his system showed that he had officially established his tribe and asked him to choose a name. When Chen looked closely, he noticed that the tribe population was only 46, so he wondered why it was 4 less. He named the tribe Newbie Tribe. Chen then pondered that he needed to find a way to deal with the Bei clan and considered taking some Bei clan members as prisoners. However, he wasn't sure if the captured prisoners would count toward the tribe's population. Suddenly, Chen overheard some girls from the Coconut Grove clan talking among themselves. They mentioned how they used to like Chen's smiling appearance, but now he had to be like the men who became partners before and were cut into pieces by the queen at the ceremony, and then devoured. Chen was tense thinking about the queen eating men and wondered if that was the reason why men were scarce in the Coconut Grove clan. Someone came up behind Chen, startling him, causing him to shout and ask them not to harm him. Mia revealed that it was her and asked why Chen was so scared. Chen, still startled, asked her what she wanted. Mia then asked if Chen was really going to become the partner of that rude woman, Lisa. Chen responded that he might need to reconsider his decision and that he had been too hasty in agreeing to the ceremony with Lisa. Mia asked if he was serious. Chen shared that he thought he was getting a bride, but it turned out Lisa was like a praying mantis. Hearing this, Mia started celebrating, but Ayu interrupted her, asking why she had sneaked out when she was supposed to be resting. Mia blushed and responded that she wanted to be with Chen. Chen sadly told Mia that he wanted to be alone and suggested that the girls from the Coconut Grove clan could participate in camp construction if they wished. Ayu agreed and started to take Mia back. Despite this, Mia continued to ask Chen to think carefully and consider her instead of Lisa. After that, Chen decided to go and chat with Lisa about the situation. The next day, Chen woke up and noticed that everyone was getting along very well, and even the Coconut Grove clan was helping to build the houses. He then went towards the farming area where the temporary residents of the Coconut Grove clan were staying. Upon reaching there, Ayun greeted him and asked if he had come to meet with the queen. If so, Ayun mentioned that the queen was nearby the river. Ayun then informed Lisa that the king had arrived to meet her, prompting Lisa to ask everyone to leave. Once alone, Lisa asked Chen if there was something urgent. Chen responded with a no, saying he had just come to see how her injury was healing. She shared that she would be back to normal in another 2 or 3 days. Lisa then asked if Chen wanted to get a head start on their romance. Chen tensely responded with a no, and then asked for her name. Lisa told Chen that he could call her Lisa, as that was the name given to her by the former queen. However, since her exile, no one had called her by that name. Hearing this, Chen became more tense, realizing it was either comply or face exile. He thought that Lisa might even rename her clan to the Praying Mantis clan. Chen asked Lisa if the former queen had also had a partner, and wondered where they were now. Lisa responded that all of them had been eaten, as it was a tradition in her clan for the queen to consume her partners, which was believed to grant her more power. Chen became more scared upon hearing that. But he was relieved when Lisa said that it was a tradition of previous queens, and she had no intention of continuing it. Chen felt a bit relieved and asked if she had never eaten anyone. Lisa responded that she had recently become queen and never had a partner, so she hadn't had any opportunity to consume anyone. Chen then bid her goodbye as he was leaving to prepare for the ceremony. While Chen was heading back, he thought about how if there was no risk of being eaten, he should consider talking with Mia. Suddenly Lisa shared that although she didn't eat people, if someone wronged her in the future, she wouldn't hesitate to take severe action. After some time, Chen was moving around in their living areas, observing the people. Then he realized that he only had 7 days left to complete the mission, so he decided to first capture some prisoners and fulfill the mission. So Chen told Stonebone that he would be out for a while. During that time, Stonebone was in charge of organizing everyone's work, and if there was any emergency, he should send someone to find Chen at the beach to the south. The scene then shifted to the beach in the South Sea, where Chen was shocked to see something and wondered how it had happened. He questioned whether the Bay clan had been wiped out. Dodo birds were easily roaming near the corpses, so Chen understood that he was temporarily safe. He then checked the bodies of the Bay clan people and noted that they still had some elasticity, and there was no stench yet, and whatever battle they were involved in must not have ended too long ago. Chen also noticed that the claws on their fingers were exceptionally sharp, and the wounds seemed to match the claws. Chen then wondered whether the water lunatics had been engaged in infighting, making it crucial for him to locate any survivors. There, he found a corpse that had no internal injuries but appeared to have suffered a painful death. While Chen wondered what could have happened to them, suddenly Sam appeared out of nowhere, shouting that a group of Bay clan members were wreaking havoc at their place. Chen tensely ran back towards the base upon hearing this. The scene shifted to the base, where Stonebone instructed everyone to stay close, conserve their strength, and prepare for close combat. They were throwing wooden spears, but the Bay clan lunatics remained completely unharmed by them. The lunatics were closing in, so Stonebone urged everyone not to panic and to do whatever they could, but to prevent the lunatics from dragging anyone into the water. He emphasized that once in the water, they would have no chance against the lunatics. The lunatics charged towards them, but they managed to disrupt their charge by throwing stones at them. Just then, Queen Lisa's reinforcements arrived. Lisa asked Stonebone what was going on and if the enemies were from the Bay clan. She also asked why the Bay clan, who were supposed to be living on the southern edge, had suddenly appeared at their base. Stonebone responded that he didn't know, but the lunatics were behaving erratically, charging suddenly from the South River towards their base. The fight then started between them, with both sides engaging in a fierce battle. Even Lisa fought alongside the newbie clan members. Lisa tried to talk to the Bay clan members, but they didn't reply. She began to suspect that something was seriously wrong with the Bay clan. While Lisa was fighting with a Bay clan member, a larger lunatic attempted to sneak attack her. Chen then attacked with full force, swinging at the lunatic, but the lunatic easily withstood the attack, surprising Chen. 2 Bay clan members tried to sneak attack Chen, but Huangshi and Lang Guchui intervened, attacking them and knocking them out. They declared that if the Bay clan wanted to attack their king, they would have to fight through them first. Chen praised Huangshi and Lang Guchui for their actions, and said he would leave those small freaks to them. Chen also asked Lisa if he could entrust her to help his people deal with those small freaks, as he needed to focus entirely on the opponent in front of him. Lisa responded with a yes and joined the fight. Chen also told everyone that he was counting on them until the outcome of his fight was clear. Chen then told the big lunatic that he didn't know what happened to the Bay clan, but it had nothing to do with the newbie clan. He suggested that the lunatics might have mistaken them for their targets. However, without listening, the big lunatic attacked. Seeing this, Chen became tense and shouted, asking if the lunatic had lost the ability to communicate. He was also stunned by the lunatic's explosive power and wondered how, even with his strength and agility exceeding that of an ordinary person by several times, he could handle such an attack. So, he was just a squishy damage dealer in front of the lunatics, and since he was surrounded by his people, he couldn't casually use the hidden skill of his axe. While Chen was deep in thought, he got distracted from the lunatic's attacks, and the lunatic bit his hand. To Chen's relief, he pulled back and was safe, thanks to the protection of the Bull King's cloak. Without it, his left hand might have been torn off by the lunatic's sharp teeth. The lunatic became even more furious and charged at Chen with full force. But Chen dodged the attack, and the lunatic took off Chen's cloak instead. Chen tensely wondered how the lunatic had become so fast. If he hadn't slipped out of the cloak, he would have been dead. Suddenly, Chen noticed that the lunatic stopped attacking. He wondered what was happening and why they had stopped. Out of nowhere, the lunatic started backing off. Chen realized something was strange, as the big lunatic had only ripped off the part of the cloak stained with his blood. He also saw that only Agun was surrounded by many Bay clan members. Chen understood that the Bay clan was using the scent of blood to lock onto targets, and in this strange state, the lunatics were acting purely on primal instinct. Chen thought about how they could use this to their advantage. Just then, Sam returned and asked if there was anything he could do for Chen. Chen asked Sam to take 2 people and bring 3 cubs from the pigsty. Sam, confused, asked why. mentioning that the boars were supposed to be raised for future use. Chen shouted at Sam to do as he said, thinking to himself that the Bei clan was forcing him to sacrifice 3 precious boars, and he would seek revenge for it later. Chen then asked Lisa to get all the injured out of the fight. Just then, Sam returned with the boars. Chen instructed Sam to let the cubs run towards the river. The moment Sam released the boars, they started running towards the river in fear, seeking safety. But Huangshi was ready with his spears and attacked the cubs. The moment they got hurt, all the lunatics of the Bei clan were attracted towards them and started tearing them apart. While the lunatics were tearing apart the cubs, Chen asked everyone to apply paralysis drug to the spearheads, ensuring they avoided vital parts. To Chen's surprise, Huangshi shared that the lunatics of the Bei clan were acting strangely again. When Chen looked at them, he was stunned to see the lunatics acting strangely and slowly falling to the ground. Chen angrily asked Sam if he had poisoned those cubs, but Sam denied it. So now Chen became more tense and instructed everyone to stay away from those lunatics and remain on high alert. At that moment, Chen wondered what was going on and why this was happening with the Bei clan. The scene shifted to sometime later at the farmer's area, where every Bei clan member was captured in cages. Ah Yun asked everyone to stay alert in case any movement was made by the Bei clan's people. When the Bei clan's people woke up, they started asking for help. Ah Yun asked a girl to go and inform King Chen. After some time, when Chen arrived and asked about the situation, he saw that every member of the Bei clan was asking for water. Chen first asked Ah Yun where the leader of the Bei clan named Hector was. Ah Yun responded that they had kept Hector separated from the others. When Chen reached Hector's cage, Hector was asking for water, so Chen poured some water from a bottle on him. After that, Chen asked Hector if he could understand his words, to which Hector responded with a yes. Chen then assigned the communication task to Ah Yu. Ah Yu first gave water for Hector to drink, and asked him to drink as much as he wanted. Hector told Chen that his people also needed water and asked Chen to share it with them. Ah Yu reassured Hector not to worry, as they would all be given water, and then asked if Hector was ready to provide some answers. Hector tensely asked why they had attacked their clan just to ask a few questions. He also shared that he had heard about the Giant Stone clan being a group of strange people, but he never expected them to be so bizarre. Ah Yu asked Hector whether he was saying that he had been attacked by the Giant Stone clan. Upon hearing this, Hector was surprised and said that Tor hadn't told him that Chen's clan wasn't the Giant Stone clan. Ah Yu responded that they were a new clan called the Newbie tribe, and their king is Chen. Hector responded that he had never heard of a Newbie tribe, which meant that the Giant Stone clan must have sent them away to a very distant place. Ah Yu clarified to Hector that he was mistaken again. Hector was captured because he attacked their territory, and the Newbie clan had never had any dealings with the Giant Stone clan. It was only the Bei clan's people who attacked them like frenzied beasts. Hector couldn't believe it, saying it couldn't be possible because he didn't remember anything Ah Yu was saying. Ah Yu asked Hector to tell them whatever he remembered. Hector shared that his clan used to live around the South Fish, and they were happily engaged in their internal fights and fun. Suddenly, a child from his clan came to Hector crying, saying that his dodo bird had been taken away. Hector told him to be brave and fight back for his own things, suspecting that it might have been taken by Scaly and the others. But the child denied, saying it had been taken away by those weirdos. When Hector looked, he saw the men were from the Giant Stone clan. Hector furiously asked why they were in his territory, but the leader of the Giant Stone clan, without responding, ordered his clan to attack the Bei clan's people. Hector was shocked that the Giant Stone clan had ambushed them out of nowhere and wondered why. Hector explained that he was knocked out during the fight, and when he woke up, he found himself in a cage captured by the Newbie clan. Chen then told Hector that he had visited his village a while ago, and there was no one left alive. Chen added that if they hadn't chosen to spare the lives of the remaining Bei clan members, the Bei clan would have been extinct by now. Hearing this, Hector became deeply saddened and felt immense pain, realizing he was unable to save any of his people. Suddenly, something fell from Hector's body. Ah Yu picked it up and asked Chen to take a look at it. When Chen looked at the leaf and identified it using the system, he discovered that it was industrial hemp, a herbaceous plant known for its pain-relieving properties and the ability to induce hallucinations when smoked. Upon realizing this, Chen became tense and wondered if it could be the work of the Giant Stone clan. The scene shifted to some time later, with everyone giving water to the Bei clan's people. During this time, Chen had collected leaves from each member of the Bei clan and discovered something unusual about them. Chen then remembered that Sam had once told him the leader of the Giant Stone clan had obtained some kind of divine power. Now, it seemed that this god was more of an evil entity. Chen then thought that it was likely the industrial hemp that caused the Bei clan to turn on each other. He wondered if the Giant Stone clan was behind this, as their frenzied attack on the Newbie tribe territory couldn't have been accidental. If the Giant Stone clan intentionally let the Bei clan's people come here to wreak havoc and leave them worse off or dead, it meant that the Newbie tribe had not only been noticed, but also seen as a threat that needed to be dealt with. Even Hector, with his boundless strength, had become a puppet at the mercy of others, indicating that the power of the Giant Stone clan was not to be underestimated. Chen checked his own stats and realized that 3 points of strength might not be enough, so he needed to level up before the real danger appeared. Ah Yu came to Chen and told him that Hector was on the verge of a mental collapse, expressing her fear that Hector wouldn't be able to provide answers if it happened. Chen responded that they didn't have time to wait for Hector to calm down, as danger could be lurking around them, ready to strike at any moment. Ayu asked if he meant that the Giant Stone Clan was planning to attack their base. Chen shared that it was difficult to explain, but he believed the Giant Stone Clan used the industrial hemp leaves to control the Bay Clan's people. He emphasized that they didn't know what would happen next, so they needed to quickly trigger Hector's memories to learn more. So Chen said to Blackstone that he needed to stop blaming himself, as once someone inhales the poisonous smoke from the industrial hemp leaves, no matter how strong they are, it's useless. Chen asked Hector to take a look at the leaf. Upon looking at the leaf, Hector shared that he remembered the smell. He vaguely recalled smelling it when he was fighting those bastards, but at that time, it was mixed with all sorts of strange smells. He just felt it was pungent and unpleasant. Hearing this, Chen became tense and asked whether the Giant Stone Clan was using different types of poisonous plants. He guessed that they would need to figure out the effects of those poisonous herbs before planning any counterattacks. Hector asked if King Chen was going to deal with the Giant Stone Clan, suggesting that the Bay Clan people should also join him. He expressed that if he didn't avenge his brethren, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Other members of the Bay Clan shouted that they also wanted to take revenge for their fallen comrades, and they were willing to do anything as long as they could achieve that revenge. Chen thought that although he still needed more people to complete the main quest, they were only 4 people short. Chen's thoughts were interrupted by Hector, who mentioned that their noses were very sensitive. He offered their help to Chen, saying they could distinguish and track those poisonous herbs, which would definitely aid Chen. Chen responded that this was exactly why he was worried. Despite their ability to track herbs, their sensitivity to the smell of blood meant that if the Bay Clan's people lost control again, the consequences would be unimaginable. Hector shouted that if it weren't for that poison smoke, they could easily control themselves. Chen responded by acknowledging that their enemies were the Giant Stone Clan, and raised the concern about what would happen if the Giant Stone Clan released the poison smoke again during their battle. Hector sadly responded that if that happened, they would refuse to fight. Chen told Hector that he understood his desire for revenge, but emphasized that acting out of anger and hatred would not resolve anything. He expressed concern that Tor might not agree with his plan, if he had one. Hector responded that they were the last remaining members of the Bay Clan, and as long as Chen could help them get revenge, their lives belonged to Chen. Chen told Hector that as long as Hector assimilated into his tribe and pledged loyalty to the newbie clan, he guaranteed that they would take revenge. However, Chen clarified that not all members of the Bay Clan would have the opportunity to personally take revenge. Chen asked Hector again what he thought about the arrangement. Hector and every member of the Bay Clan started shouting that they were ready for it. As Chen started to leave, Hector called out to him. Chen understood and instructed Ayu and Ayun to release the people of the Bay Clan from their cages, as they were companions after all. After doing so, Chen's system indicated that he had completed the tribe mission and received the quest reward. As a reward, Chen received 3 attribute points, a large material chest, and a heritage plaque. Since Chen had completed the quest within 7 days, he also received an extra reward of a surprise gift package. Chen felt relieved that he had finally completed the quest and decided to allocate all the attribute points into strength. After allocating the attribute points to strength, Chen suddenly felt an enormous increase in power, sensing the energy surging within him. When the transformation completed, he noticed that his hair had grown longer, and he wondered if it was a side effect of the power boost. He then decided to check the rewards. In the large material chest, he obtained 1 ton of hematite. Upon seeing this, he felt happy because it would help him skip the Bronze Age and advance straight to the Iron Age. After that, Chen opened the surprise gift package, hoping for something exciting. When the package opened, he was delighted to find 3 jars of hemostatic ointment. Chen was amazed that the prize was much better than last time. Chen then instructed the system to retrieve the heritage plaque. On the heritage plaque, it showed that he had obtained a civilization product, but it required 10 technology points to unlock. Without hesitation, he allocated the required technology points to identify the product. Identification completed, and Chen received a plaque of Sense of Modesty. Chen realized that this could be a crucial step in the development of civilization. He felt happy knowing that now he wouldn't have to worry about mixed-gender baths anymore, as he didn't want anyone to see Lisa bathing. Now, Chen had to think about how to deal with the threat of the Giant Stone Clan. Suddenly, Ayu arrived but was shocked to see Chen's new avatar, as he had become taller and more muscular. Chen responded affirmatively, and asked Ayu what she needed from him. In response, Ayu asked if Chen wanted her to go and negotiate with the Giant Stone Clan to clear up any misunderstandings. Chen explained that there was no misunderstanding. The Giant Stone Clan had decided to wipe them out. He described them as the most troublesome opponent the newbie clan had ever faced, capable of using tactics like pitting enemies against each other while they benefited from the chaos. Ayu tensely asked what their clan should do now, expressing her fear. Chen responded that for now, their best course of action was to build their defenses, stockpile food, and avoid provoking the Giant Stone Clan until their clan was fully prepared. In other words, their clan had to conceal their capabilities and bide their time. Ayu then asked how they should arrange the 22 new people who had just joined. Chen instructed her to divide the Bay Clan's people into 3 groups, each tasked with building houses, gathering food, and making traps. Hearing about traps, Ayu got confused and asked what they were and why they needed to build them. Chen explained simply that traps could be used to protect their territory. He added that by setting traps, they could catch live enemies or wild beasts, enhancing their defensive capabilities. He then told Ayu that he had an urgent task for her. With the sudden increase in their population, they needed to consider long-term food supply issues, and they couldn't afford to waste uneaten meat. He decided that they should start by teaching everyone how to make meat jerky. When Stonebone arrived and expressed surprise at Chen's increased height and muscularity, Chen asked him not to pay attention to it, and instead focused on the task he had for him. Chen then instructed Stonebone that he needed him to set up traps in the surrounding mountains, emphasizing that the denser the placement, the better. He mentioned he had already selected some people to assist Stonebone, and he would personally teach him how to make the initial trap. However, Chen stressed to Stonebone that the most crucial task was not just learning to make the traps, but remembering the locations of these traps. Hearing all that, Stonebone became tense and expressed that the task didn't seem exciting at all. Chen lightly tapped Stonebone's helmet and told him that entrusting him with remembering the location of every trap was a sign of his trust in him, so it needed to be kept an absolute secret. He also told Stonebone that only he and Stonebone would be involved in this task. No third person was allowed. Chen instructed Stonebone to ensure that each person rotated through different areas to set the traps, and not to let anyone know all the trap locations in a specific area. Otherwise, if there were to be a traitor among them, the consequences would be unthinkable. Chen then asked Stonebone to report all the trap locations once they were set. He even erased the drawings he used to explain to Stonebone and instructed him not to draw anything anywhere, but to remember the trap locations in his head. Stonebone responded that he thought it was a bit difficult, but he would definitely live up to the trust Chen had placed in him. Chen praised Stonebone for his commitment and asked him to go and rest, as they would begin their work under the cover of night. Chen put the sense of modesty plaque in front of his house so everyone could see it as they passed by and learn from it in their own way. He then told Lang Guchui that he was going to rest for a bit. Stonebone and the others would find him at night, but if anything urgent came up, Lang Guchui could wake him. Inside the house, Chen lay on the bed and wondered how much time they had. There was so much to do, like training soldiers in different units, building defense structures, arranging patrol teams, discovering new technology, and expanding their territory. It seemed like never-ending work to Chen. But he decided to cherish this rare moment of rest, and went to sleep. When Chen woke up, he found himself in a bar where some beautiful girls were having drinks. Chen asked them to introduce themselves. The girls said their names were Xiaoya, Lily, and T-Dan. Chen was very happy, and shared that he had drunk too much but was glad to be back, no longer having to endure anxious days living in the wild. Chen enjoyed their company, and after some time, Xiaoya was lying beside him, telling him it was time to get up and work. He responded that he really can't do it anymore, Xiaoya. He then heard her say she wasn't Xiaoya. Chen tried guessing other names, but each one was denied. Finally, she said she was Stonebone. At that moment, Chen opened his eyes, stunned, and shouted in fear. It turned out that it was all just a dream. Chen furiously asked Stonebone why he was in his room. Stonebone responded that Chen had told him to come and find him at night. But when he arrived, Chen grabbed him and started flirting. Chen was stunned upon hearing this. But Lang Guchui interrupted, saying it was all a misunderstanding and they should leave for work. The scene then shifted to some time later, where Chen was showing everyone how to make a trap. He demonstrated by creating a spike trap as an example for everyone. He explained that since the enemies and monsters they were facing were quite large, the traps needed to be deep and wide enough to be effective. Chen then demonstrated how to hide the traps with leaves in a specific manner. Chen reiterated that the spike traps could be combined with the tripwire traps he had shown them earlier, emphasizing the importance of mixing and matching trap types. He also mentioned that Huang Shi could teach everyone how to make other types of traps. Hearing this, Huang Shi got confused and admitted he didn't know how to make any traps. Chen then asked Huang Shi if he remembered the moving target used for spear practice, suggesting it could be perfect for a trap if they replaced the log with a net and added a triggering mechanism. Chen left the work to Stonebone and the others and headed back, hoping he could continue the dream he had just woken from. As he returned to the territory, he was surprised to see that no one was walking around. Normally, by that time, someone would have woken up and started working. Chen went to check in their houses, but when he tried to enter, the girls inside started shouting for whoever it was to go away. When Chen asked what was wrong, they became serious, and some of their clothes were not fully on, making them hesitant to come out. Hearing this, Chen wondered if it was the effect of the heritage plaque's sense of modesty. He closed the door and told them they had half a day to make new clothes. If they weren't out by noon, he warned them not to blame him for being strict. Chen went near the plaque and was amazed by its effect. Suddenly, Stonebone came shouting his name. When Chen turned around, Stonebone shared that he had found something while digging traps. Chen was delighted and told Stonebone that what he had found was flint. A brilliant discovery. He explained that with flint, they had limitless possibilities, especially because it could produce sparks when rubbed together forcefully. Chen and Stonebone ran back to the place where Stonebone had found the flint. Upon reaching there, Stonebone showed Chen the spot and mentioned they had dug around that stone. When Chen saw it, he realized there wasn't enough flint. Since it wasn't a dry, arid, saline alkali land, if the flint was naturally formed, there was only one possibility. Chen asked Stonebone to take a closer look at what was inside the soil. Stonebone agreed, and mentioned that the soil in that area was easier to dig, and there appeared to be some things inside that didn't quite look like stones. When Stonebone tasted it, he got freaked out because it was dung, and he felt very bad after eating it. On the other hand, Chen already suspected that there was probably a fairly large dung pit underneath. He felt puzzled, wondering if it could be possible that another primitive people had lived there and reached a cultural level where they had something akin to toilets. Or could it have been the old lair of the giant stone clan? Chen ordered Stonebone to collect the flint, bury the places again without leaving any traces behind. He also instructed to set up a few more traps nearby and to build beacon towers in high places. Additionally, Chen wanted some people to be on lookout in shifts. Hearing this, Stonebone shouted in confusion, asking about towers and beacons, wondering what Chen had said. The scene then shifted to 4 days later, where Chen wandered through the territory, observing the many houses that had been built. He reflected that this was the first step towards happiness. Suddenly, Mia ran towards Chen, startling him. He quickly asked Lang Guchui to help him stop her. Despite their efforts, Mia reached Chen with full force and hugged him tightly, accidentally breaking a house in the process. Lang Guchui asked Chen tensely if he was okay and urged Mia to get off him. Seeing Chen injured, Mia squeezed him again, pleading for him to stay alive since they had just built houses and couldn't afford to die now. Chen responded that playtime was over and asked Mia if she said the houses were ready. Mia responded affirmatively, saying there were 2 rows of houses, totaling 10, which could comfortably accommodate 50 people. Hearing this, Chen was pleased and patted Mia on the head, praising her efforts. Chen also asked Mia not to be reckless anymore and assigned her the task of repairing the broken house as a punishment. Then, he went to check on the progress of the food supplies and reserves. Upon reaching the riverside, Chen saw that the Bei clan people were happily catching fish, and Ah Yu along with some girls were helping them dry the fish. Chen shared that compared to building houses and digging traps, the Bei clan were indeed more suitable for going into the river to fish. With the Bei clan's help, their new tribe had noticeably increased the variety and quantity of food available. Lang Guchui praised Chen for all the progress they had made, which allowed them to live such a prosperous life. Chen responded that it might be possible, but he still wondered if the methods he used to subdue the Coconut Grove clan were proper, and what kind of deceit he might resort to in the future. Lang Guchui reassured Chen not to doubt his decisions, emphasizing that Chen's orders were their will. He expressed that he saw no problem with what they had done, pointing out that in the world, only the strong survive, and large and small groups were constantly devouring and destroying each other every day. So obtaining maximum results with minimal losses is actually kindness to both them and the Coconut Grove clan, Chen said with a smile. He then told Lang Guchui that he already possessed the most important qualities needed for their journey. Chen then asked Lang Guchui to accompany him to inspect the results of the border defenses, expressing his belief that the Bei tribe could still bring more surprises, like the mysterious Frogman force. The scene shifted to Stonebone and the others working on the traps and towers. When Chen arrived, he asked Stonebone how the traps and beacon towers were arranged. Stonebone responded that according to Chen's orders, the beacon towers in the west, south, and north had all been completed. After arranging for 6 people to be stationed at the beacon towers in shifts, there weren't many people left. Stonebone explained that in order to finish on time, they had to leave early and start working on the mountain before dark. Chen understood they were short on manpower and decided that from that day onward, he and Lang Guchui would go up the mountain to help Stonebone. Stonebone asked Chen not to worry, saying they could handle it, but Chen responded that it was a critical time for them, so they needed to make every second count. Chen was wondering if the Giant Stone clan had indeed lived nearby before, they might be more familiar with the terrain than his clan was. He worried that if the Giant Stone clan took advantage of their unpreparedness, they could launch another, even larger surprise attack. In the night, while everyone was working and Chen was there as well, he suddenly looked towards the West Beacon Tower and felt an ominous sensation. He wondered why he was feeling this way, perhaps just overthinking it. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Chen heard screams coming from the South Beacon Tower. He was surprised and quickly looked in that direction, where he saw signals for help. Chen furiously shouted to everyone that the South Beacon Tower was under attack and urged them to move quickly. Chen ran towards the south, his mind racing as he thought about how, despite knowing the trap locations and having an agility bonus from 2 points, it still took at least 5 minutes to reach the South Mountain. He hoped that nothing would happen during those crucial 5 minutes. At the South Tower, Huang Shi was patrolling when he noticed triggered traps very close to the tribe. He wondered how the enemies had managed to infiltrate so far. Huang Shi also considered the possibility of other enemies nearby who might have seen the firelight and were ambushing towards it. He decided it was best to find these enemies first and launch an attack. Huang Shi ran towards the source of the noises and attacked with his spear, but the enemy proved formidable, deflecting the spear and forcing Huang Shi to dodge. To his surprise, the enemy quickly closed in to attack him, leaving Huang Shi with little time to react, causing him to shield himself in fear. To Huang Shi's relief, the enemy stopped the attack and revealed himself to be Chen. Surprised, Huang Shi asked why Chen was at the southern side. Chen responded urgently, saying there was no time to explain, and asked if Huang Shi knew where the traps had been triggered. Huang responded affirmatively and described the location where the traps had been triggered, mentioning he was the one who lit the beacon tower. Chen quickly instructed Huang Shi to wait for those taking the safe route and bring them to that location after him. When Chen reached the location of the triggered traps, he didn't sense any other people nearby. The silence was eerie, suggesting they hadn't caught a wild beast. The fact that the trapped person wasn't calling for help made Chen wonder if they were truly alone or had lost consciousness. When Chen went to look at the trapped person, he was surprised to see that it was none other than Lisa. He asked her what she was doing there, as she was supposed to be recovering from her injuries. Lisa became furious and asked Chen why he was just standing there asking questions. Chen smiled and teased her playfully by tickling her feet. Lisa, feeling frustrated, asked Chen to help her down from where she was trapped. Suddenly, they both heard Huang Shi and the others approaching. Lisa furiously shouted at Chen, telling him that if anyone saw her like that, she swore she would make sure they kept quiet about it. Chen became tense and asked Lisa to wait while he dealt with the approaching group. He shouted for everyone to stay back and not come any closer, warning them that the situation was very dangerous and they could die if they approached. Hearing this, Stonebone looked confused and wondered if Chen had fallen into an ambush. He questioned whether they should rush in to rescue Chen. Huang responded that he didn't think so because from Chen's demeanor, it seemed like he hadn't been affected negatively. Huang also speculated that Chen might not want them to see something specific. Stonebone pointed out that he thought Chen was taking a break after the battle, noting that even the women avoided them when bathing and everything seemed a bit different, though he couldn't quite pinpoint why. Here, Chen freed Lisa from the trap and laughed, teasing her that he didn't expect her of all people to fall into the trap, but at least now they knew how the traps worked. Lisa chuckled and commented that she didn't expect him to know so many strange tricks. Chen then asked Lisa what had brought her there in the middle of the night. Lisa shared that she had overheard some conversations among the Bei tribe in the evening. Lisa explained that she overheard two people from the Bei clan talking about how they wished they could catch fish, shrimp, or clams by the seaside to boost their energy for work. However, they mentioned that the way to the beach was blocked by a ferocious pack of hyenas, making it too risky to go fishing when there was a chance of being attacked. The scene shifts to the present where Lisa explains that she decided to come and find a safer way during the night. Chen shares that he had walked that path many times, and there were no hyenas there 5 days ago. He suspects that someone from the Bei clan might have sneaked out in the past few days, causing the hyenas to move into the area. Lisa asked if something was wrong with the Bei clan and suggested executing them. Chen responded with a no, clarifying that he wasn't suggesting that. He explained that he was thinking about the security loopholes they hadn't noticed before. Chen proposed setting up patrols and emphasized the importance of clearing the way to the beach for safety. Chen added that while fish and shrimp were secondary, they definitely needed dodo birds and their eggs. He suggested they could also open a salt field for salt drying. Chen then declared that it was decided. After daybreak, they would deal with the troublesome hyenas. Lisa shared that she could handle setting up patrols and secret sentries, but she suggested Chen reconsider dealing with the hyenas and expanding the territory. Chen smiled and asked if she was worried about him. Lisa got embarrassed and asked Chen not to flatter himself. She expressed her concern that with their small numbers, spreading out to guard 2 territories might be reckless. She also pointed out that the beach had already been attacked by the Giant Stone Clan once. What if they were to attack again? Chen responded that precisely because the Giant Stone Clan had already been to the beach, it made it relatively safe. He explained that their tribe's camp, the beach outpost, and the Giant Stone Clan on the southwest mountain formed a triangle. Chen proposed that as long as they ensured a smooth exchange of goods and information between the beach outpost and the tribal camp, they could support each other effectively. Lisa admitted she didn't fully understand what Chen was talking about, but since he had made a decision, she agreed to go along with it. The scene then shifted to some time later, where Hector, Chen, Lang Guchui, and members of the Bei clan were heading towards the location where the kid had seen the hyenas. Hector asked the kid if he was sure he encountered the hyena on that path, noting there was no smell of blood. The kid affirmed that he had seen the hyenas around 2 days ago. As the kid moved ahead, he was suddenly attacked by a hyena. But Hector swiftly counterattacked and saved the kid from the hyena's attack. However, they soon found themselves surrounded by a group of hyenas from all sides. Lang Guchui cautioned Chen to be careful, but Chen smiled and reassured them that with the Bei clan as their allies, these wild dogs wouldn't pose a threat. At that moment, Hector suggested to Chen that he could take the group on the left, while leaving the right side to him. The fighting commenced, and the Bei clan easily engaged with the hyenas. Chen thought it was a good opportunity for him to observe what the new recruits could do. Suddenly, a hyena tried to attack Chen, but he easily blocked it by grabbing the hyena's neck. After a few minutes, everyone managed to defeat the hyenas. Hector expressed that it wasn't satisfying enough for him. Chen asked Hector to let it go, and urged everyone to move forward. Moving further, Hector shared that it was their former territory. Upon reaching the location, Chen asked everyone to observe the cliff, explaining that it would be where they would build the outpost. He specified that it needed to be close to the cliff and spacious enough to house 20 people, with the beacon tower constructed above it. Chen also mentioned that after building the beacon tower, they needed to construct a small salt evaporation field next to the outpost. He told Hector that he would send some people to help him, but emphasized that Hector had only 4 days to complete everything. At that moment, Chen felt like a foreman inspecting a construction site, despite being the one doing the laborious tasks. Before leaving the area, Chen instructed them to immediately light a fire for help in case of an emergency. The scene then shifted to 3 days later, where Chen had crafted a wooden bow, earning him 5 technology points. At that moment, Ayu informed everyone that Sam had returned and had something to report. Chen went to Sam and asked if he had found any human tribes to ally with or conquer to the north. Sam responded that he had traveled north for more than a day, but saw no sign of anyone. He only found a lake and a snow-capped mountain not far away, and there seemed to be a strange creature living in the water. Sam added that before he could see the creature clearly, it sank to the bottom of the lake and disappeared. Since the snow-capped mountain lay further ahead, he didn't dare to proceed and decided to return. Chen laughed and responded to Sam, saying it was okay and that he had done a great job. He joked that he never expected Sam to fear the snow mountains more than the monster in the water. Trembling, Sam said that the snow mountains were too terrifying and asked Chen if he hadn't heard the stories about them. Chen asked what was so terrifying, but suddenly Yu hugged him, saying she was scared. Chen asked Yu why she was so frightened of the snow mountains. Yu responded that the terrifying part wasn't the snow mountains themselves, but what lurked behind them. A giant. Chen told Yu not to worry because he was there, so there was no need to be afraid of anything. Suddenly, Chen's system showed that he had a new quest where he had to find the giant, and he would get 1 attribute point for it. Chen was stunned when he saw this and wondered why he would get 1 attribute point just for seeing a giant. After all, he had to risk his life and drive away a saber-tooth to earn 2 points before. He then thought that the giant might just be a big fellow, and looking from afar shouldn't be very dangerous, right? But on the other hand, if the giants had a civilization, maybe they could even turn the giants into their allies. Still, he needed to be cautious because if things went wrong, it could lead to the tribe's destruction. However, the exploration and diplomatic tasks couldn't be left to Sam and Yu. Chen asked Sam to go and rest since the banquet would be in 2 days, so he could relax and enjoy. Sam thanked Chen and was relieved that he got a break and didn't have to face the giant. Yu also asked Chen to remember that Sam gets nervous in certain situations. Chen responded that it might not just be nervousness. Sam's perception of danger far exceeds that of everyone else, making him sensitive to certain things. That's why Sam can explore the outside world freely while keeping himself safe. Chen then asked Yu about the preparations for the partner ceremony. Yu responded that everything was ready. Chen then asked Yu to prepare travel necessities for 4 people, as he was planning to take a few people with him on a little expedition. Hearing this, Yu tensely asked if Chen going personally meant the task was very dangerous. Chen responded that he was just going to explore the nearby areas and that there was no need to worry. He asked Yu to prepare some food, water bottles, and warm clothes. He also asked Yu to thank Skinny for doing a good job on making the clothes. Yu then asked when he was going to leave for the trip. Chen shared that since the partner ceremony was in 2 days, he would depart after the banquet ended. The scene then shifted to 2 days later, where Chen had prepared a shield for himself. He explained that because it was made of hardwood and cowhide, the shield was very light. He added that everyone could now replace their equipment as soon as possible. At that moment, Yu came in and told Chen that it was time for him to wear the royal dress. When Chen stepped outside wearing it, everyone congratulated him and started celebrating. At that moment, Chen wondered if the partner ceremony was just a wedding. In his old life, he had struggled just to make a living, but now he had his own tribe, his own people, and a wife. Although it felt like a dream come true, in the present world, he felt a strong sense of belonging. Chen approached Lisa and shared that in the future, when he wasn't around, the fate of the newbie tribe would rest in her hands. He announced to everyone in the tribe that from that moment on, Lisa was the queen of the newbie tribe clan. Everyone praised their queen and king, and the atmosphere became very emotional. Mia even cried, expressing that while she didn't want anyone else to take the king's place, the scene was truly touching for her. After the festivities ended and night fell, everyone bid Chen good night as they went to sleep. Chen felt relieved that nothing bad had happened on the ceremony day. Yu approached Chen with a smile and informed him that Queen Lisa was waiting for him in the palace, suggesting that he should go to her. At first Chen blushed upon hearing that Lisa was waiting for him, but then he became tense, recalling that her love language involved using a whip. Nevertheless, he headed towards the palace, intrigued by the possibility of something exciting awaiting him. With courage, Chen opened the door and told Lisa that he had returned home. However, upon seeing her angry expression and feeling the tense atmosphere, Chen became nervous and wondered if it felt like someone was about to die. Lisa then told Chen that she would give him a chance to explain himself. Tensely, Chen asked what she wanted him to say. Lisa stood up, took out the whip, and asked if he was still going to pretend. Chen, now scared, tensely asked if Lisa could please be more gentle as it was their wedding night. Deep down, he regretted upgrading Lisa's whip. Lisa then asked if he was in such a hurry to leave her by going on a journey just after the ceremony. Hearing this, Chen felt a little relieved and asked Lisa to relax and let him explain everything. He then shared his entire plan, and Lisa asked to confirm whether his plan was to convince the giants to join them against the Giant Stone clan. Chen responded that he wasn't entirely sure about convincing the giants and wanted to bring 3 more people with him for safety. He emphasized that the true purpose of the trip must be kept secret. Chen also expressed confusion about why Sam and Yu seemed fearful of the giants. Upon hearing this, Lisa asked if it wouldn't be better for her to go with him. Chen responded with a no, explaining that one of them needed to stay with the tribe, and besides, she had more important things to attend to. Lisa asked what those things were. Chen took out a stone sling and told Lisa that he would demonstrate how to use it later. He explained that he needed her to train a stone sling team by the time he came back. The scene then shifted to the next morning, where Chen was heading towards the giant place with Huang Shi, Hector, and Tina. He was singing peacefully, but Yun was furiously looking at him. Seeing this, Chen became scared and wondered if Yun was purposely walking behind him, possibly trying to find another opportunity to ambush him. But Chen couldn't do anything because it was Lisa's wish. What actually happened last night was that Chen tried to flirt with Lisa, but she shouted at him, asking him not to tease her. She then asked why he didn't choose people from the Coconut Grove clan or Bay clan since he wanted to take 3 people with him. Chen responded that he planned to bring Hector because he had personally witnessed Hector's combat prowess. The beach outpost would be temporarily under the responsibility of Stonebone. Lisa insisted that she didn't care whom he chose but insisted that she must go with him. She explained that only when Ayun was with him could she feel at ease. Lisa then approached Chen and reassured him that she had already taught Ayun a severe lesson for the last incident, so he could rest assured. The scene shifted to the present time, where Chen was still furious, unable to be at ease with Ayun walking behind him. Chen now relied heavily on Huang Shi, believing that if something went wrong, only Huang Shi could save him. Huang Shi mentioned that he felt like someone was staring at them, but then dismissed it, saying it might just be his imagination. Hector then asked Chen if he knew there was a lake ahead. Chen responded affirmatively, mentioning that Sam had mentioned it before. Hector started laughing, suggesting that Sam must have also seen the giant because when Hector was a child, he saw it swallow a leopard whole in the blink of an eye. Hector then shared that he had been lucky in childhood, but this time he hoped for a better fight with the lake monster. Chen was stunned, thinking that encountering such a monster wasn't lucky at all. He responded to Hector that monsters like the lake creature didn't concern him much. He would be more interested if they encountered something more formidable, like giants. Hearing this, Huang Shi got scared and tensely asked Chen not to expect such things. Chen responded that he was speaking casually and asked if there really were giants. Huang Shi then shared that before meeting the king, their tribe had originally consisted of over 30 people. One day, they encountered a giant, and the clan was powerless to resist, scattering in all directions. Huang Shi also mentioned that even though it happened when he was very young, no one who survived could forget that terrifying scene. Chen now understood why Sam and Ayu were so scared and trembled at the mention of giants. Hector interrupted their conversation and warned them not to eat any of those fruits, recalling that he had eaten them when he was young and suffered severe consequences. Chen inspected the fruits with his system and found that they were poisonous plants. Chen thought that all the unfamiliar plants around him might hold some value. He asked his system to scan and identify them, and discovered that every plant had significant medicinal properties. Chen was amazed to find that the whole forest was filled with medicinal plants. Suddenly, he spotted something familiar and upon inspection, identified it as a cereal grass. He was happy to have found grain seeds and received a side quest to plant multiple types of grains in large quantities and successfully cultivate them within a 180-day time limit. Chen then thought that it looked like they could finally enter the era of farming, and once they found clay, they could cook, make herbal medicine, and more. Since the cereal wasn't mature yet, he decided to come back later to harvest it. At that moment, Chen began to feel a strange sensation. But it wasn't Tina's hostility. Huang Shi pointed out something, and Chen looked at it seriously, expecting danger. However, he discovered a leaf with strong fibers that could be used to make ropes, fabrics, or paper. He praised Huang Shi for finding something valuable, thinking it would lead to better clothes. However, Huang Shi clarified that he wasn't referring to the strange grass, but to the sound coming from behind the bushes. When Chen looked over, he was surprised to see a hyena emerging from behind the bush. Chen then speculated that the hyenas must have been following them since the beginning, and the eyes they had felt before were likely from these hyenas. Realizing that the hyenas might be seeking revenge for their previous encounter, Chen asked everyone not to leave them be and suggested they take action to eliminate the threat. The fight started, and Hector was furious, determined to take down the hyenas this time. However, Ayun found herself in danger as 2 or 3 hyenas attacked her. Hector quickly and effortlessly came to her rescue, telling her not to thank him as it was his duty. Suddenly the hyenas began to retreat. Hector laughed, remarking that it was a shame the hyenas were running. However, Chen shouted, urging them not to let the hyenas escape, as he didn't want to continue being ambushed repeatedly. They started chasing the hyenas, but Chen quickly realized that even with his agility boosted by 2 points, he could barely keep up with their pace, making it impractical to continue the pursuit. Suddenly, Chen felt an eerie quietness behind him. When he turned around, he was shocked to see Ayun captured by an unknown type of plant monster. Chen wondered what it was, and upon investigating, he discovered it was a Crimson King flower, a large herbaceous plant that secreted corrosive mucus from its center and actively preyed on nearby animals for consumption. Chen was shocked to realize it was a man-eating flower. He felt tense, realizing that first there were saber-toothed tigers, then giants, and now a man-eating plant. They were straying further and further from his understanding of the primitive age. Ayun tried to use her bone knife, but it slipped from her grasp, falling into the flower's mouth where it dissolved instantly. Everyone was shocked at this sight. Chen shouted and urgently asked Huang Shi and Hector why they were standing around and told them to go and save Tina. Huang Shi responded that they were not refusing to help. They too had been ensnared by the strange creature. Chen quickly began cutting through the vines of the flower, urging Ayun to hold on until he could reach her. Ayun shouted and asked Chen to forget about her, urging him to go and save Hector and Huang Shi and escape. Before Chen could reach her, she was engulfed by the man-eating flower. Chen was now filled with fury but resolved to at least save Hector and Huang Shi. To his surprise, hyenas also attacked from the rear. Hector played a crucial role by throwing something at the hyenas to knock them back. He shouted to Chen not to come closer, warning that it was a trap set by the hyenas. Huang also told Chen to run, reassuring him that he could make it alone, and they would try to stall the hyenas for as long as possible. Meanwhile, Chen continued to struggle against the vines, noticing that they weren't fast, but that the hyenas were taking advantage of his distraction. Suddenly, he realized they were near dead trees. Taking a gamble, Chen took out some flint and struck it against the trees, igniting them. He knew that there was no creature that couldn't be dealt with a good oil barbecue. The vines began to burn, and Chen managed to rescue Ayun from the mouth of the man-eating flower. When Ayun emerged, Chen asked her tensely if she was okay, and if she could still move, emphasizing that time was running out and they still needed to rescue Huang Shi. Tina's dress had been torn from the ordeal, so Chen gave her his royal dress to cover herself. After successfully rescuing everyone, they started running away. Chen continued to throw flintstones at trees, causing them to burn, ensuring they didn't have to worry about hyenas lurking behind. Suddenly Chen spotted water ahead. He urged everyone to keep moving forward and jump into the water as it would keep them safe. However, a hyena was still following Ayun and was about to attack her. Chen saw that Ayun was in danger, so he asked her to watch behind and ran towards her to save her. He came under attack by the hyena, but managed to hold off its attack. Hector and Huang Shi were also tense and unsure what to do. Chen urgently told everyone to run away as the fire was spreading quickly. He assured them he would follow right behind, though he was worried about wearing down the hyena before the fire reached them. Suddenly, an arrow appeared out of nowhere and struck the hyena, killing it instantly. When Chen turned back to see who had shot the arrow, to his surprise, it was Tina. He noticed that her talent for archery had been activated. Chen asked Ayun if she knew how to use a bow, and she responded that she had learned by watching him earlier. Ayun explained that she had twisted her ankle and was low on strength, unable to make it out on her own, urging the others to save themselves. Chen shouted at her, dismissing her suggestion as nonsense, and then lifted her onto his back, starting to run. Hector urged Chen to hurry up as time was running out. He also asked Huang Shi if he wanted to reach faster, suggesting that Huang Shi could carry him with his strength, but Huang Shi declined. As Chen continued running, Ayun suddenly told him that she had planned to use this opportunity to accuse him, asking if he had planned the bull attack on their Coconut Grove clan. Chen asked her why she would think that. Ayun responded that she already knew he wouldn't admit it. She also mentioned that on the day the bulls entered their territory, they were already injured. However, their weapons couldn't cut through the tough bull hide, so who had injured them? Chen's people seemed particularly skilled at handling these bulls, which heightened her suspicions, but she knew these suspicions wouldn't convince the queen, so she proceeded with the assassination attempt. Ayun then pressed her bone knife against Chen's neck, asking if she attacked now. He wouldn't be able to resist, right? Or he could simply leave her in the fire and be done with the trouble once and for all. Chen asked her to hold him tight as they were nearing the edge, promising that afterward she could deal with him however she wanted. Ayun agreed, saying she would let it go for now but would keep an eye on him. She warned that if he ever betrayed Lisa or the Coconut Grove clan, she would kill him. Chen asked if that was settled, then accepted it. Ayun grew frustrated that Chen was so stubborn and still wouldn't admit it. Finally, they jumped into the water and escaped from the fire. At that moment, Chen realized that with two members of their group unable to move, they would have to postpone their search for the giant for now. Chen instructed everyone to return to the place where they had found a bunch of plants, as they would need more of those herbs. The scene then shifted to some time later, where Huang Shi was very relieved after applying the medicinal herb and feeling no pain. Chen asked Huang Shi and Ayun to rest for a while he and Hector went to gather more herbs. While they were collecting more herbs, Hector suddenly caught the scent of hyenas and wondered if he had picked it up during the fight. Out of nowhere, Chen spotted some baby hyenas in front of them and realized the hyenas weren't seeking revenge. They were protecting their young. Feeling threatened, Chen saw an opportunity to tame the hyenas as hunting dogs and happily accepted the quest. As they were leaving the area, they were startled by the sound of roaring nearby. Ayun asked, "What's that sound?" But Chen recognized it and tensed, thinking they couldn't be this unlucky. A bear emerged from behind the trees, prompting Huang Shi to shout in fear that it was a man-eating bear. Chen pondered their options. With two injured people, outrunning it was impossible. He instructed everyone to circle around and retreat while he kept the bear occupied. Hector and Ayun tried to protest, but Chen shouted at them to follow his orders without argument. He insisted they would only slow him down and stressed that they had only one chance to survive, so they must obey him. Chen asks Hector to get Ayun and Huang Shi to safety. Chen starts fighting the bear while everyone else runs away. Chen finds himself face to face with the bear. He attacks, but the bear strikes back, sending Chen flying through the air and injuring him slightly. Tor sees this and becomes worried. He tells Huang Shi and Ayun to take the little hyenas back, while he goes to help the king. Huang Shi shouts at Hector not to intervene, having witnessed Chen's formidable strength firsthand. He believes even the strongest opponent couldn't defeat Chen, and staying with him would only hinder Chen's movements. Huang Shi suggests they follow Chen's orders instead. Chen thinks that with his last attack he has gained the bear's attention. He decides to lure the powerful bear away and escape. Chen provokes the bear to chase him, and when the bear starts pursuing him, he runs in the opposite direction of the others to ensure their safety. After getting some distance, Chen realizes that Hector and the others have been left far behind, so he decides to evade the bear and make his escape. To his surprise, he suddenly gets attacked from behind. Chen manages to dodge the attacks and wonders who could be attacking him now. Perhaps a giant rat monster? But to his astonishment, he sees that it's the saber-toothed tiger he fought when he first arrived in this world. Even the saber-toothed tiger seemed surprised to see Chen again, but their reunion was interrupted when the bear caught up to them. Chen now found himself in a perilous situation, knowing he couldn't match the strength and speed of both enemies together. He contemplated whether to use the power of Pangu, but he knew that doing so would leave him weakened for a long time, possibly causing him to pass out for days. Moreover, even if he survived fighting the tiger and the bear in his weakened state, he feared that the giant stone clan might attack while he was vulnerable, leading to his demise. As both the bear and the saber-toothed tiger attacked Chen, he tried to maneuver away, hoping to let them engage each other in combat. Suddenly, his system detected extreme danger and activated emergency escape mode. In this mode, Chen would temporarily gain 20 agility points and convert strength to stamina for 600 seconds. However, once the mode ended, 33% of his 3 main attributes would be permanently reduced. As soon as the mode started, Chen felt a surge of a different kind of power, allowing him to leap into the air and dodge both attacks, causing the bear and tiger to collide with each other. Chen was impressed by his newfound lightness and explosive speed. However, the bear and tiger continued to pursue him, prompting Chen to become anxious and start running away. He wondered why they weren't fighting each other. After some time, he finally managed to lose them. Chen felt a bit disappointed, realizing that while the emergency escape mode was amazing, its cost was too high. Chen realized he had run all the way to the snowy mountain, so he decided to make use of the remaining time and search for the giant. Within moments, he covered a significant distance in one stride, grateful for the emergency escape mode that spared him from exhausting himself in the deep snow. Upon reaching the mountaintop, he finally saw someone and wondered if it was the legendary giant. After seeing the figure, Chen's system indicated that he had completed the task and received the reward. However, he now faced the second part of the giant quest, launching an attack on the giant to gain 10 attribute points. Upon reading this, Chen became furious and questioned whether the system had malfunctioned. Suddenly, one of the giant's pets sensed something, prompting Chen to quickly hide in place. Chen thought about the tempting reward of 10 attribute points and decided to give it a try by running as fast as he could. He picked up a stone and threw it towards the giant. The stone traveled slowly and hit the giant, but it was so small that the giant didn't even notice. However, the giant's pet saw the stone and started growling, sensing something amiss. Chen became very excited after completing the task and receiving the reward of 10 attribute points. However, the system then showed a third part of the quest. Chen had to take down the giant alone to earn a reward of 100 attribute points. Seeing this, Chen was torn. The prospect of gaining 100 attribute points was incredibly tempting and could significantly change his circumstances. He debated whether to attempt it. While he was still considering his options, the giant was disturbed by the growling of its pets. In anger, the giant slammed the ground and commanded them to keep quiet. The slam sent snow flying through the air, covering Chen completely. His senses were momentarily knocked out, giving him a stark realization of the giant's power. He muttered to himself that even 10,000 attribute points wouldn't be worth risking his life for. The scene shifted to the evening, a few days later, at the newbie clan territory where Lisa asked the girls from her Coconut Grove clan if they had found anything during their night patrol. The girls apologized, saying they hadn't found anyone. Lisa instructed the Coconut Grove clan girls to expand their patrol area and continue searching. Ah Yun suggested preparing for the worst, fearing Chen might be dead. This angered Lisa, who sharply told Ah Yun to stay silent, reminding her that Chen had risked his life to save them all. Suddenly, a boy from the Bei clan arrived, shouting that their king had returned. As Chen reached the territory, everyone rushed towards him, concerned about his well-being. Mia approached Chen and noticed he was with Ah Gun. She asked Ah Gun why he hadn't lit the beacon to alert them earlier, so they could have come to rescue Chen sooner. Ah Gun responded that it was King Chen's order not to make a fuss about his return. Just then, Lisa arrived and shouted at everyone to stop crowding around Chen and allow him to go back to rest. Lisa then took hold of Chen and instructed everyone to return to their respective posts. She declared that she would take care of Chen for the time being, but warned that if she found out anyone had leaked this information, there would be severe consequences. Everyone got scared and agreed to it. In the house, Chen said he was glad that Sam and the others came back safely, and that he didn't expect them to bring back hyena cubs too. Chen also asked Lisa to let Sam raise the cubs since Sam would need extra help when he goes out alone in the future. Lisa angrily told Chen to worry about himself first, and that no matter how capable he was, he should take care. Chen responded that his injuries weren't severe. He was just exhausted and would be fine after a good sleep. He said he should handle the tribe matters first. Lisa put her leg on his stomach and slowly moved it downwards. She said all right, she would inform Sam, but reminded Chen that he was the king of the tribe and didn't have to do everything himself. Most importantly, she didn't want to lose her man. At that moment, Lisa furiously stepped on his sensitive area, causing Chen to tensely ask her to move away. Lisa removed her leg and told Chen to get some rest. Chen was stunned by the scene and realized that Lisa was becoming more and more dominating. After leaving the house, Lang Guchui asked about Chen's health. Lisa responded that Chen was healthy but needed some rest, so she didn't let anyone disturb him. After that, Chen opened his system screen and was happy to see that even after losing 4 attribute points, he had gained 10 attribute points. For him, the trip was worth it. However, having high strength and low agility wasn't useful in critical moments, so high agility was very important for survival. Chen increased his agility first, and the system showed that his agility increased to 5 points, reaching a threshold. To increase it further, it required double the attribute points. Chen then wondered if spending double the attribute points to increase agility to 10 would hit another threshold, causing the required points to double again, and then quadruple, and so on. This meant getting 22 points in agility wouldn't be very easy. Chen then wondered if there was a threshold for everything. To check this, he decided to maximize each attribute to its threshold first. Chen increased his stone attribute and he felt an intense sensation, as if his body was going to burst. His shoes and pants tore because his size was getting bigger. He noticed that only 2 attributes were left to max out to their threshold levels. Tiredly, Chen lay on the bed and thought that he should add his next attribute points to stamina, raising it to its threshold level. Then Chen went to sleep. The scene then shifted to some time later, where everything was running smoothly in the newbie territory. Lisa was teaching everyone how to use a slingshot. She even did a trial run, hitting 6 targets, grazing 1, and missing 1. Out of nowhere, Chen arrived and praised everyone for their progress despite it being their first attempt. Seeing him, Lisa furiously asked what he was doing there since she had told him to rest. Chen responded that he was fit and fine, but Lisa noticed his new pants and thought he had been with another girl and was about to punish him. Chen quickly explained that it was just his increased power causing his clothes not to fit anymore, pleading with her to let it go. Lisa then told Chen that the Slingers team had formed, but it would take some time for them to become experts. Chen asked how Huang Shi and Ah Yun were doing, and if they had recovered from their injuries. Lisa shared that Huang Shi didn't want to stay at rest and be a burden to the tribe, so he went to the south post to guard the beacon. She also asked Ah Yun to bring food and water to Huang Shi, so there was no need to worry about him. Lisa also mentioned that she was more concerned about Ah Yun because her injuries were less severe, but perhaps because she had scolded Ah Yun earlier. Ah Yun was in a bad mood. Chen said to Lisa that Ah Yun cares a lot about her and silently bears everything for her, so Lisa should treat Ah Yun better. Chen then shared that he was going to rest again because in a few days, he needed to go north and harvest those precious millet plants. During that time, he would also continue inventing. The scene then shifted after 4 days, where Chen had prepared a table of numbers from 1 to 9 and planned to teach them simple addition and subtraction later. Chen gained 20 attribute points for writing language and creating numbers. Then, his system showed that his technology points had reached 100, and a new technology shop had opened. This technology shop allowed Chen to exchange technology points for various useful tools and heritage plaques. Once items were exchanged, they couldn't be returned. The system displayed a comprehensive list of items and resources that Chen could exchange with his technology points. Excited by the array of choices, Chen carefully examined the options and decided to pick an item for the first time. It's intriguing to think about what item Chen might exchange first with his technology points. As for the potential conflicts like the giant stone clan attacking or tensions with Tina, those could add a lot of drama to the story. So be curious to see how it all unfolds. Stay tuned for more updates on the channel. After the tech store appeared, Chen carefully reviewed its contents and successfully exchanged 30 technology points for an iron cauldron. It was quite a good deal. He bought it not only because he could cook in it, but also because it was made of iron. You can carry it on your back and it will become armor. If you tie it to your forearm, it becomes a shield. However, its main feature is that it can kill the enemy at a crucial moment. Our hero was so happy with his new purchase that he didn't even notice the sounds it made. Luteng was worried about the king when he heard the sounds and decided to go inside to find out what was going on. Once inside, he witnessed an incomprehensible dance with a new thing, which greatly confused Chen. Trying to justify his behavior, he said that he was communicating with other gods and spirits. Nevertheless, it was time to use the cauldron for its intended purpose. The protagonist dug a hole with his own hands with an exit for smoke and a place to put firewood. All that remained was to put the cauldron on fire and boil water. Surprisingly, the system took these actions as progress and awarded another 10 points of technology, which was very encouraging. In the distant past, Chen liked a professor from whom he learned a lot of things. However, he never expected to be able to put it into practice. After the water boiled, he could add the main ingredients. In our case, Chen used the gifts of the sea and started making fish soup, mixing the ingredients thoroughly. The system added another 10 points for inventing new cooking methods, so today the food was twice as tasty for our hero. At the same time, Stonebone came in with some pretty good news. They were finally able to extract salt by evaporating seawater on the salt field, which earned them even more points. The appearance of salt had a good effect on the food, which added a great flavor. As a reward, Chen offered him to be the first to try the experimental soup, and then return to other tasks. The 100 points he had recently spent on the cauldron were quickly returned, so it became the most profitable exchange he had made in recent times. After the tasting, the protagonist ordered Luteng to bring the rest of the tribe, who had to bring their own bowls. It was the first time they had ever tasted such a delicious fish dish, so they were quite surprised by the new flavors. Fortunately, there was plenty of food, and everyone could get an extra portion. One such person was Mia, who had already eaten 2 bowls of soup and wanted more. However, Yu was worried that someone might not have enough food, and Chan had to reassure her that there would be enough for everyone. If that happened, he could always make more. After all, he would have to cook a new portion for those who were on guard duty and on patrol anyway. The guys at the outpost had to have some too, so he was going to take the bowl of fish soup to them himself in a few days. He liked teaching the tribe something new and seeing the joy on their faces. That's why he promised himself to teach them how to use wooden chopsticks so they could eat roast beef like civilized people. Meanwhile, while everyone was enthusiastically rustling their plates, Chen reopened the technology store in search of a useful item. He had already accumulated 100 technology points, so it would be wise to exchange them for something new. The math and farming stoves were unnecessary, and he immediately excluded them from the list of possible purchases. However, to sow the crops, he needed to obtain precious seeds that his tribe still hadn't managed to collect. Unfortunately, it was at this moment that he was interrupted and informed of an activated trap located to the north. There were no traces of human activity nearby, so it was logical to assume that it was just a beast that was still possibly alive. The sudden appearance of Lisa surprised our hero, but her ruthlessness quickly solved the problem. She ordered the guards not to bother the king with such trifles and just finish the beast off. She was unhappy that Chen was too busy to think about her, so she came to the meeting herself. Only now he was forced to set up his own home. This time, he promised to find something new and bring new changes to the tribe. He kissed her as a pledge of his loyalty, which confused her greatly and turned his attention back to the animal in the trap, because instead of killing it, he could tame it. So he left the rest of the work to Lisa. The nettles that Huangshi had brought recently had already run out, so more needed to be collected. The most important thing was to find precious millet, the grain of which could be sown in the fields. As they headed for the traps, Chen looked around for seeds. However, he never found anything. Finally, they arrived, but the place where the trap with the captured beast was located was too quiet. When they looked inside the trap, they were very surprised. Not long ago, the animal had been howling desperately for help, but now it was only snarling angrily, suffering the pain of its pierced leg. It was another hyena that came in search of food. Looking at it, it became clear that it looked like a mother pig. Sam was overly sensitive to milk, and it was by the smell that he immediately recognized the signs of breastfeeding. Most likely, it was the mother of those hyena babies. Feeling responsible for the hyena cubs, Chen tried to go down to her, ignoring the danger posed by the animal's claws. Wrapping the animal with a rope, they easily lifted it to the top. The hyena was too weakened by the wound and became like an obedient pet dog. Now Sam was responsible for her. The protagonist asked him to save the animal and feed her. For him, this task did not seem easy. Previously caught hyena cubs flatly refused to eat the meat he prepared for them, so he didn't know what would suit their mother. Sam tried to figure out what to feed them, but every day they became weaker and thinner. Just as Chen had assumed, raising baby hyenas was not as easy as it seemed at first glance. However, the fact that their mother was trapped will be their salvation. As soon as they returned home, our hero ordered to tie up an adult hyena, feed her with meat, and take her to the cubs. This should have been enough to help the cubs, so Sam immediately went back to the tribe. Our hero could only hope that the wild beasts would not harm them in their home and would allow themselves to be tamed. After that, Chen entrusted the warrior to check the rest of the traps, while he and the rest of the people went further north. As they went further, the more wild animals they encountered. Fortunately, his plan was successful, as they were able to find wild millet that was just ripe. If he had waited a couple more days, they might have been left without a crop, so their luck could be considered a gift from the gods. In addition, there was still plenty of time left before returning, so our hero decided to start collecting medicinal herbs. Today could have been the most productive day in recent memory, as they were able to get a lot of resources before nightfall. However, at dusk, the big animals wake up. The loud cry of the bear was familiar to Chen, so he ordered the rest of the team to hide in the bushes. Everyone was immediately quiet, trying not to give themselves away, but the animal was too fast and in a split second was not far from them. Of course, in such a dangerous situation, they could have thrown away the millet and medicinal herbs that were weighing them down, but Chen forbade them to do so. He didn't want to waste valuable resources and ordered them to wait until the animal left. No one argued with his decision, but everyone took a pose that would allow them to escape faster in case of danger. For the tribe, it was necessary to save their own lives. For our hero, this pose seemed very funny, and he almost laughed. But do not forget that the bear wandering around the neighborhood may be their old friend. Unfortunately, the team became very relaxed when the bear's cry died down and they started asking stupid questions, which annoyed Chen. To silence them, the protagonist threatened to throw them right into the bear's mouth if it returned because of their screams. But the beast heard his loud threat and began to approach them again. The bear was roaring like crazy, ramming into one tree after another, unable to stand on its paws and constantly falling. It was likely that it had injured itself on something and could not calm down, so Stonebone offered to catch it for dinner. However, they were not the only ones who thought of this. After the stranger's shouts, the bear quickly got up and started running away from the hunters in the opposite direction. This time it was hunted by people from the mountain tribe, with whom Hector wanted to get even. With these intentions, he jumped out of the bushes and ran after them. With his reckless behavior, Hector almost revealed their disguise, but Chen was able to quickly return him to the bushes. With a loud rustling sound, they were able to hide again, which attracted the attention of the man from the mountain tribe. Fortunately, they did not focus on unnecessary details and preferred to hunt for prey. But Hector did not understand the protagonist's actions. He had a great chance to take revenge, but he was not allowed to do so. In such a situation, he shouldn't have let hatred cloud his judgment. The enemy's forces far outnumbered them, so it would be rash to attack them. The only advantage for our hero was that the enemy was in the open area, and they were in the shadows. Even if Hector wanted to engage in battle, he had to wait for the most appropriate time, so now he had to listen to Chen. Meanwhile, the bear was completely exhausted and fell down in the middle of the clearing. The man who was running after him did not hesitate to mock him, and kept pushing the poor animal, forcing him to get up again and again. However, the leader of the mountain tribe was against these antics. The bear ate the venison mixed with poisonous white flowers and then was wounded in the stomach. It was surprising that after all this he was able to run so far, so he clearly deserved a decent death. Being mocked by a human was too low an act, so as a punishment, he was immediately thrown into a tree. The chief ordered everyone to step back from the clearing while he organized a quick but rather painful end to the bear. To do this, he wanted to use an obsidian blade, which was created from natural volcanic glass. At the same time, information about the bait was useful for our hero. Not many primitive people could have thought of mixing poison into the bait, so he was surprised at their intelligence. But the system was against killing the bear and ordered Chen to save it. Forcing him to take a chance and start a war with a mountain tribe to save a bear that had recently tried to kill him seemed completely absurd. However, the system predicted the protagonist's indignation. If she refused such a rare mission, it would never appear again. The system did everything to ensure that Chen had no time to think, and he accepted the task at great risk to himself. He remembered all the unpleasant words and cursed the system as he approached the mission objective, so his anger gave him the opportunity to stop the obsidian blade. With his arrival, he ruined the entire show that the leader was preparing to show his warriors. Our hero's team dared to take away their prey, thus endangering themselves and enraging their enemies. Chen decided to trust the system's orders for now, hoping that the bear's sympathy would be worth the risk. After accepting the mission, the system notified him about a side mission. The bear was poisoned with common dope and wounded in the stomach. All that was required of our hero at the moment was to stop the bleeding and neutralize the poison in 10 minutes. Otherwise, the animal would die. Chen completely forgot about the poison when he accepted the mission. Trying to think about the situation, he realized that the task was only to save the bear, not to start a war with the mountain tribe. He also knew that it would be better not to enter into a fierce conflict with them, but he did not have time to negotiate a peaceful exchange with them. At the same time, the enemy leader recognized our boy, who had recently been in the sea tribe. His disrespectful behavior irritated Hector, whose name he did not even remember. This behavior made him grit his teeth waiting for permission to fight, but our hero did not respond to their conversation. Chen was too preoccupied with the system's notifications, which sent out warnings of punishment. In case of failure, certain parts of Chen's body, which are responsible for reproduction, would be shrunk by half. It was harsh even for the system. Chen immediately thought that Lisa would abandon him, leaving him alone with the harvested millet. He didn't want to end his reign in such a way, so he got really angry, showing his strength to his enemies. The protagonist was ready to lay down his bones to successfully rescue the beast, but he did not want to risk the others and asked them to take care of themselves. With these words, they finally got into a fight. Everyone tried to protect Chen while he was treating the bear. Fortunately, he managed to stop the bleeding in less than a minute, but the fun was just beginning. The next step was to neutralize the poison, which he had never encountered before. He was fully responsible for the treatment of the beast, and without his participation in the fight, the team began to lose. This battle could have ended in someone's death, because everyone had received serious wounds that prevented them from fighting at full strength. But they were ready to fight to the end, so that Chen could finish his work. Suddenly, the leader of the mountain tribe stopped the fight. The leader of the mountain tribe liked the Chen team. For a bunch of wanderers who had just gotten together, they performed quite well. As a reward for this, he was ready to act nobly and save their lives, if only they would retreat. But Hector was against giving up. His soul was filled with a desire for revenge, and he wanted to settle old bones this very minute. According to him, they were just warming up, and even though it was evening, they were full of energy. They wanted to scare their enemies and calm Chen, who was trying to deal with the poison. The time allocated by the system for treatment was running out too quickly. Chen had 6 minutes left, but he still couldn't figure out how to neutralize the poison. No matter what they said to him, our hero saw that even Stonebone was barely standing up. If this continued, he would simply fail the mission. In his heart, he could already feel the system laughing at him, but to save himself, he was ready to become a clown in a circus. Meanwhile, the leader of the enemy tribe accepted their refusal and bent his knee menacingly. He put a lot of force into this movement, and when his foot hit the ground, he created a shockwave of incredible scale. No one had ever seen such an attack before, so everyone froze in their tracks, not knowing how to fight on. Fortunately, Chen saved them. At the cost of his own weapon, he fiercely beat back the wave and kicked up a pile of dust. He didn't want to get into a fight with their tribe, but it looked like he was going to have to intervene. This aroused the chief's curiosity. Now he wanted to know the name of the tribe that had so fearlessly opposed them. He had only recently taken them for wanderers, but it seems he was very wrong in his guess. It was not his style to attack a small group of people with an army, so as soon as he learned what he wanted to know, he let them go. Instead, he promised to deal with Chen on another day, with the same number of people on both sides. Today, the leader of the mountain tribe was delighted to meet him, so he nobly retreated, taking the wounded with him. This included the guy he had thrown into a tree for mocking the bear. Now he was too sick and the others had to carry him. Thus, the tribe of newcomers, led by the protagonist, managed to avoid trouble. The only thing left to do was to solve the last problem, namely to remove the poison from the bear's body, which was causing him incredible suffering. And while Chen was treating the bear, the mountain tribe did not understand why the chief voluntarily gave away the prey. This behavior was too strange for them, but the lack of ginseng explained his decision. They used this plant to strengthen themselves. In addition, the supernatural power granted by the sorcerer was almost exhausted. Chen was not an easy opponent, since he was able to block a punch that had 70% of his strength invested in it. Looking at the relaxed posture of our hero, the leader was convinced that Chen was hiding something. In addition, his weapon seemed rather unusual and too well sharpened for such a weak tribe. Inspecting his obsidian blade, the chief promised to do his best in their next meeting. Meanwhile, Chen consulted with the rest of his team. Unfortunately, none of them knew how to neutralize the poison from the dope and just watched his actions. But some of them decided to ask why he was saving the bear. They thought it was just another prey for which they had just entered the fight. However, there was no time left for explanations. All they had to realize now was that this was a huge life-and-death situation. The system left him only one last attempt, so Chen used honeysuckle and burdock. These two herbs had the effect of neutralizing poison, but no one knew if they could neutralize the dope poison. Using brute force, they opened the beast's mouth and shoved everything they had at hand into it. The protagonist spent the rest of the time until the end of the mission, holding his breath. While waiting for a miracle, time passed too slowly, and only at the last seconds did the system take pity on the bear and send a message about the stability of the animal's condition. Now that the bear's life was out of danger, they could take a breath and relax. Hector was the only one who kept asking to go to chase after the mountain tribe, who didn't have far to go. Being a wise king, Chen explained that no one knows all the characteristics of the enemy army. If they acted rashly, they would suffer huge unnecessary losses. Even if he managed to win by some miracle, it would be nothing more than a Pyrrhic victory. He was totally against losing his men for revenge. Since the mountain tribe would come to them on their own, he would only have to think over a plan of action and accumulate combat power. Thus, he tried to convey this idea to them, and then sent them back to the village while he watched over the bear. Stonebone had to tell the queen to send reinforcements to the patrols and to post sentries while the guests were coming to them. Being alone with the animal, the night seemed incredibly long. Predators were constantly coming to the bear's scent, and our hero had to fight them off. All night long, Chen did nothing but fight off wild animals. He couldn't believe that they could be so tasty, and he ate the roasted meat with pleasure. Closer to dawn, the bear also woke up and turned his head at the smell of delicious food. Our hero offered to eat while it was still possible and kindly handed him a piece of meat. He didn't know if he ate cooked food, so he left a few raw rabbits in a separate pile just in case. By the time the fire was completely out, Chen, in the company of the wild beast, had eaten enough game and began to rest. After that, the system notified him of the mission completion and awarded him the bear's sympathy points, offering to distribute them immediately according to the parameters. According to the protagonist's plan, the points were primarily credited to physical strength until it reached a critical value, which made him a remarkable strongman. Chen liked this reward, and while he was rejoicing, the beast gave him a part of its food as a gift. This was his way of expressing his loyalty, so our hero accepted the gift and shared it with the bear. Now that he was in perfect health, it was time to go their separate ways, hoping for a new meeting. Only the animal itself refused to do so and almost immediately grabbed Chen's clothes. He wanted to go to the settlement together, so he put a lot of effort into achieving a positive result. It takes a lot of food to feed such a large animal, but having a bear as a pet could raise his profile. Even though the beast was clumsy and not much help, Chen took it with him. He now had his own name, Shunda, thus gaining an official place in the tribe. As a sign of gratitude, the bear happily pounced on our hero to hug and lick him, and then followed him. Now that Chen had a strong assistant, he could follow the mountain tribe to scout the path. Sitting on top of Junda, they could see the tracks that the enemies had so recklessly left behind. However, the farther they went, the deeper they got, which meant only one thing: a bamboo forest ahead. Bamboo could be used not only as a material in construction, but also for making firecrackers. All that was left was to mix nitrate, sulfur, and charcoal in the right proportions and put them in a bamboo tube, which would be a good container for the powders. If they do succeed in making firecrackers, they may be able to take their enemies by surprise in a decisive battle. Even if the power of the explosion is insufficient, its sound will scare the tribe and make them flee. Recently, the protagonist was brought some saltpeter and learned how to produce coal by firing a kiln, but there could be problems with sulfur. Usually it was formed only near volcanoes, so Chen used the system's map to facilitate the search. As he had assumed, the volcano was located near the glaciated giant. If he didn't get too close to it, he could take a chance and evaluate the sulfur deposits. Last time the protagonist was busy running away as fast as possible and didn't consider the nearby resources, but with Junda, it will be much easier for him. After thinking about the plan several times, he finally ordered the bear to turn north, where he would show him something incredible. They chased at full speed until they came to the same lake where Hector and Sam were. While looking at the landscape, Chen told Shunda that he had already walked this road. He hadn't been in the mood to explore the area then, but today was an opportunity to make up for lost time. Cautiously approaching the lake, they were quiet, waiting to see the sea monster they had talked about so emotionally, but it was in no hurry to rise to the surface. Chen was ready to go on, but Shunda suddenly became alert and took a few steps back. At the same moment, air bubbles appeared on the surface of the water, released by something really big. A gigantic head followed, howling in a furious voice as its body swam to the surface. It was a real Tyrannosaurus, looking around for an easy meal. Only the rope, the end of which was broken, indicated that the creature belonged to someone. The T-Rex was clearly not the creature Chen had expected to see. Along with the bear, he became alert and crouched in the grass, estimating the size of the creature. The collar hanging around its neck might indicate that it was the giant's pet that had escaped while he was sleeping. It is likely that the monster that frightened the saber-toothed tiger and left giant tracks in the forest was just like this T-Rex. If this is true, then the giant on the mountain has been asleep for at least 15 days. Be that as it may, it would be foolishness to waste their only chance of escape, and as soon as the creature turned its back on them, Chen ordered Shunda to run for the mountain. He obediently followed the order and walked deeper into the snowy biome, but with each step the snow layer grew thicker and they were forced to stop. If something happened and an avalanche came down the mountain, they would not be able to escape. Just in case, the protagonist got down from Shunda, which worried him greatly. In fact, he was going to walk behind the beast and protect it in case of danger. To calm him down, he advised him to be careful and keep an eye on his surroundings. Bringing the bear along was a great idea, because the movements of its powerful paws made the snow fly off in different directions, exposing the surface. Chen's keen sense of smell immediately detected a pungent odor that he could not confuse with anything else, so he began to look for the source. The deeper they dug into the snow, the stronger the smell of burning matches became. Although it took a lot of energy, he managed to find a deposit of sulfur, which could have been decisive in the battle with the mountain tribe. Our hero was extremely happy about this discovery, because with such reserves, firecracker production could begin tomorrow. Having gathered the necessary resources to the maximum, Chen easily transported them to Shunda and then headed home. Crossing the first houses of the settlement, he was met by Sam, who was very happy to see him, but no one expected to see a bear in his company. To avoid further misunderstandings, the protagonist introduced Shunda to everyone and asked them not to harm him. At first, it was hard to get used to the presence of a wild animal, but later everyone wanted to try to ride it. All of this could have been done with his consent, but Chen decided to avoid bullying the bear and promised to find another zoomorphic animal. After unloading the materials, Chen asked Ayu to dry the bamboo without going into details about its use, and then turned his attention to Lisa, who was fearlessly looking at the animal up close. She admired such a powerful beast and was proud of our hero, but her happiness did not last long. Immediately after Chen arrived in the village, he was told bad news. A giant monster appeared in the sea, near the shore, and it was raging and preventing the fishermen from fishing. With its body, it creates waves so big that it easily destroys all the salt on the beach, giving the fishermen no chance to win. After listening to all the pressing problems, the protagonist calmed the messenger down and personally went to the beach to assess the situation. Saddled with Shunda, he arrived at the sea in a matter of minutes, where the remains of the boxes washed up from the beach were floating. It was an ichthyosaur, a large predatory marine reptile that looks like a fish, has an aggressive nature, and reproduces by eggs. At that moment, it was at the developmental stage and wanted to destroy all living things, reaching a length of about 7 meters. Its behavior alerted even Chen, but no one wanted to let it go free with impunity. If the ichthyosaur was not calmed down, it would continue to rampage, causing them great damage. To win, they needed to drive it onto land, where the reptile would lose half its power. After telling his plan out loud, Chen directed Shunda toward the sea and attacked the foolish ichthyosaur. At the first blow, the bear was thrown to the beach, forcing the monster to open its stomach for the attack. At the last minute, our hero managed to jump away from the bear, after which he plunged his axe into the reptile's flesh. His actions made the creature even more angry, and it twisted to grab Chen with its mouth and drag him into the depths. The ichthyosaurus was carrying Chen to the seabed at top speed to prevent him from breathing fresh air. Our hero realized that at this rate he would drown faster than he would be eaten, and he began to expand the monster's mouth with all his might. All this time, Shunda was chasing him, so until the reptile went too far, he pulled it toward the beach, keeping its tail still. The bear was smart and followed Chen's plan, but it still had a hard time struggling. The ichthyosaur's jaws, coupled with the lack of air, were too powerful for an ordinary person, so it's no wonder the protagonist wanted to give up. But fortunately, a woman rose from the dark depths and saved his life. Wielding a pair of daggers, she successfully attacked along the ichthyosaur's body and forced it to let Chen go. The red blood instantly painted the clear water a murky crimson hue, obscuring the view of the girl herself. Due to the lack of oxygen, our hero's limbs began to gradually go numb, making it impossible for him to swim to land. He spent his last moments of lucid consciousness thinking about the girl who was skillfully swimming in the sea. The next time Chen opened his eyes, he saw Shunda on the yellow sand, worrying about him with the rest of the tribe. After coughing out his water-filled lungs, our hero noticed his rescuer on a rock and asked Alana to come closer. She was the best swimmer in the sea tribe, often hunted in the sea, and knew where to attack the reptile to quickly deal with it. Everyone on Earth knew that the Sea Tribe was not known for its mental abilities, but Alana looked completely stupid compared to the others. But considering that she had saved Chen, he didn't pay much attention to this fact, and sincerely thanked her for saving him. Now he was only interested in where she had gotten the obsidian daggers. In fact, she had gotten them from a bad guy who had invaded their tribe's territory. Although Alana quickly answered this question, she later thought that they were trying to take the weapons away from her and almost started a fight. However, it didn't come to that, because she was explained Chen's position in the settlement, and she calmed down. It was hard for her to remember all the information about our hero, but she realized that he wanted to help the Sea Tribe. Once she was convinced that he could be trusted, Alana told him about the day when the Mountain Tribe unexpectedly entered their land. She quickly lost consciousness in a fight with them, and when she woke up, her brother Fang and other tribal members were locked in a cave. They were being exploited ungodly, forced to do all the dirty work, and when they had enough, Brother Fang proposed an escape plan. He was going to attack the guard and give his weapon to Alana, who was to cut the rope and jump off the cliff into the river. Fang was sure that this was the only way he could save her, so he ordered her to do everything he said without question. If the plan succeeded, she would first have to meet Hector, who was famous for his luck and had to survive. With her warlike nature, she would never have survived in captivity, much less come up with this plan, so Fang sent her to a confidant. At the same moment, the guard noticed suspicious activity on their part and approached to punish them for breaking the order. His recklessness played a bad joke on him, because at that very moment, Fang attacked him with the body of his prey, which was being forced to be dragged to the warehouse. Having successfully immobilized the guard, Alana was able to get his weapon, then jumped into the water and swam downstream. That's how she encountered the huge monster that was about to eat Chen and met her friends from the Sea Tribe. After carefully considering her story, our hero suggested that she go to the logger, where, according to her brother Fang's plan, she was to meet Hector. However, she did not want to go back with her bare hands. Given that there was a dead ichthyosaur in the water, they had to take it with them. They mounted the reptile on Zunda and dragged it along the sandy beach, leaving a trail behind them. Unexpectedly, in the middle of their journey, they met Hector and Stone Bone, who had come to meet their king. But they did not expect to see Alana in their company. The story of their meeting was a long one, but now Hector knew that there were about 10 more people from the Sea Tribe left in captivity. They needed to be rescued before the Mountain Tribe began to torture them, but going to them without a plan was too risky. Our hero tried to calm him down for a long time, but when he noticed smoke on the mountain, he was distracted. It was a signal fire that screamed about the danger on the western mountain. No animal, no matter how smart or agile, could light a lighthouse on a mountain, so Chen was very wary, and it was not surprising. When the leader of the Mountain Tribe left them with his prey, he spoke of revenge that he would hardly forget. It was likely that the Mountain Tribe had come to visit them, but to confirm the information, the protagonist had to personally check the integrity of the border. Almost immediately, he ordered Stonebone to take the rest of the settlement to the fortress, while the warriors gathered and strengthened their defenses so that the strangers could not attack them. Hector and Alana were sent to the western mountain to meet up with the patrol team and take up an ambush position. All they had to do was sit next to the traps until Chen came with help. All the way, as he ran toward the camp, he hoped for the mercy of the gods and the mistaken ignition of a signal fire. Fortunately, Lisa was already waiting for him outside. She was worried about the fight with the monster that was raging on the shore and couldn't find a place to sit, imagining different scenarios. When she noticed that he had no wounds, she breathed a sigh of relief and offered to rest while she reconnoitered the situation. However, he did not have time for that. Chen was grateful for her efforts, but the signal fire was still bothering him. Even if she went there with the rest of the warriors, she would never be able to calm Hector, who could go crazy and attack the Mountain Tribe leader at any moment. He had to deal with the situation himself, so he brought along Huang Shi, Lang Guchui, Sam, and Ai, who had proven themselves in battle many times. Instead, he left the rest of the work of defending the settlement and treating the wounded to Lisa. Sam recently found a hill from where she can observe the situation if she wants, so that in case of danger she can go with reinforcements. Even though Chen did not want to take more people, Mia insisted on participating. She had never been taken along, so if they refused, she threatened to follow them anyway. Having dealt with the orders, our hero put Lu Teng in charge of protecting the queen, and then immediately headed west. By the time they got to the rest of the team, it was getting dark, which could have played into Chen's hands. At dusk, it is much harder to recognize the traps and the place of ambush of each warrior. However, the Mountain Tribe had foreseen the situation and was slowly approaching the border with torches, not hiding their location at all. As if sensing danger, the leader ordered the tribe to stop right in front of the death trap. He guessed that Chen had arrived at the border and was waiting for guests, so he offered to voluntarily come out for a fair fight. No one understood why he was so sure of our hero's presence, but no one took off his disguise. Instead, the leader explained his tactics and how he was able to feel the people. The neighborhood was too quiet. No birds sang, no beetles scratched, and no frogs croaked. Only after a long presence of a large number of people could the animals leave their burrows, giving away the location of the trap. But even then, Chen's team did not show themselves and was forced to switch to threats. The chief didn't like using Qishanzhao power, but he didn't want to play hide-and-seek even more. This time, the protagonist came out of the ambush, prepared to meet the enemy face to face. It just so happened that the Mountain Tribe was surrounded from all sides, leaving them at a disadvantage. But the same number of people from each tribe pleased the leader. Holding his obsidian blade forward, he happily challenged Chen to a duel, because this time he could fight freely without thinking about his dignity. However, Hector, as our hero expected, did not miss the chance to avenge the Sea Tribe and attacked at the first opportunity. He had neither principles nor pride, so he shamelessly attacked him in the back. Literally a few meters separated them from facing off in a fierce battle, but the man from the mountain tribe did not let him do so. Mutsi blocked his way, leaning against the evil Hector with all his might. Like two stubborn rams, they were not inferior to each other in strength, leaving a trail behind them. At first glance, it seemed that Mutsi was losing, because he had a slightly smaller build, but he was much more agile. The chief was pleased with him, so he praised him for saving him and let him play with Hector. In the end, Mutsi gathered all his strength and managed to throw him into a rock, causing a wave of vibration to travel across the ground. Such power scared even Chen. Up until that moment, Hector had never lost to anyone, so our hero was very worried about the situation. At the same moment, an enemy warrior was passing under one of the traps, and Ayu dropped a giant log tied to a tree with a cable. The blow was so powerful that it should have easily knocked him down, but he pushed the log aside as if nothing had happened. The second warrior of the mountain tribe impressed with his remarkable strength, making the protagonist forget about the plan with the traps. After Hector was thrown into a rock several times, thick blood flowed from his mouth. Mutsi was going to deal with his opponent quickly because he didn't want to lose so easily to some newcomer, but he simply dodged the blow. Hector was just as stubborn and clung to his life to the last. This time he managed to grab the enemy with a dead grip and drag him to the water. There he had a considerable advantage, and Mutsi knew it. He kicked at the hard ground with all his might, trying to get out of his clutches, but only stuck him in place. At the same time, Alana jumped out of the river and attacked him from behind. As long as he was in place, it would be no problem for her to stab him in the back, but the enemies were against her decision. They threw their comrade towards Alana like a ball and knocked her back into the water. The mountain tribe was so wild that they could go even to an environment with unfavorable conditions for themselves, so she had to fight off the stranger. And while they were having fun, the twin brothers reproached the leader for promising them to have fun, but Mutsi and Shui Hao started before them. They didn't care who they attacked, so they first caught sight of our hero, who stood idly by and watched his soldiers fail. The twins immediately rushed in his direction in order to deal with him as quickly as possible, but they were opposed by Huang Shi and Lang Guchui. They had to go through the rest of the warriors before attacking the king, so their fun was somewhat delayed. The twins quickly divided their opponents and agreed that the loser would forever bear the stigma of shame. Even at the risk of their lives, they rushed into the fight with crazy smiles on their faces, wanting to bathe in the blood of the enemy. At the same time, Shui Hao watched the fierce battles and could not decide who to help. All he had been trained to do was fight, so to contribute to the victory against the newcomers, he went in search of weapons. He didn't have to go far, as there was a log right in front of him, which he easily tore off the rope and threw over his shoulder, thus breaking the trap. With such a massive weapon, he rushed toward the leader who was fighting against Chen. Frankly speaking, he was not happy that Shui Hao wanted to intervene, so he sent him off to find his own opponent. With a bit of disappointment, he followed the order and went to look for Mutsi, but he was already fighting Hector. The protagonist understood perfectly well that Hector would not be able to resist two opponents in such a state, and immediately rushed to his aid. But the leader of the mountain tribe blocked his way. He slashed his blade with all his might in front of him, forcing him to retreat and pay attention to him. The chief was irritated by the fact that Chen was looking down on him and ignoring his presence, so he was forced to attack. Time after time, the obsidian blade approached the protagonist's throat, threatening to cut off his head, but his axe successfully repelled the brutal attacks. The chief grinned angrily as he swung his weapon in all directions and advised him not to be distracted from the fight with it. He wanted to see Chen's true abilities to start a true war of kings. Unfortunately, our hero realized that he would not be let off the hook so easily, but there was nothing he could do to help Hector. At the same time, he switched to heavy artillery and ordered at least someone to oppose Shui Hao. At that very moment, he dragged his log along the ground, leaving a small ditch behind. Every second he was getting closer to Hector, forcing him to tense up, but he failed to engage. Suddenly the log became so heavy that he couldn't lift it anymore, so he had to look back. As Mia had promised, she had only joined the fight after the king's order, so now she was holding on to Shui Hao's weapon. As far as brute force was concerned, she was no match for anyone else. After looking his opponent up and down, Shui Hao sized up Mia and began to attack with his thick arms. He wanted to get to her throat and pull her to him, but suddenly an arrow hit the limb, piercing the top layer of skin. The first arrow was immediately followed by a second one aimed directly at his face. To protect his eyes from injury, he covered himself with the same arm, which protects his body from blows as well as armor. He was incredibly happy with this scenario, because he finally had two playmates at once. Looking at his joyful face, the leader allowed him to continue the duel despite the fact that the fight was not equal. If Shui Hao himself doesn't mind it, then let him have fun as he wants. In any case, when he returns to the mountain, he will be alone again. Meanwhile, Sam and Ayu tried to cover the backs of their comrades by shooting at the enemy's vulnerabilities. While Chen and the rest of the warriors fought in a bloody war, they had to do their best. However, the trap that Ayu used against the bears did not work on Shui Hao. He not only remained standing there as if nothing had happened, but also pulled her off the rope. The only way to fight such an enemy was to use brute force, but they could not escape the ambush. All that could be done in this situation was to distract them while Sam returned to the camp for reinforcements. And while Ayu was trying to change the course of the war with the means at hand, Hector continued to attack Mutsi. The latter struggled to get out of the grip, pounding his back with his fists, but nothing helped. With each punch, the sound created in his lungs was released from his respiratory system with an incredible bass. Unfortunately, the attacks were so powerful that Hector's mouth began to bleed, but he didn't stop and continued to push him into the water. In order to finish Mutsi as quickly as possible, he lifted him off the ground with all his might and ran to the river, where he wanted to test how well the mountain tribe could swim. Hector was a few meters away from victory, but the sudden appearance of Alana made him stop. She asked him not to go into the water because it was too dangerous. The guy who had recently been thrown at her was still there and attacking everything he saw. As a proof of this, her head was immediately covered by someone's hands and dragged to the bottom, which made Hector very nervous. However, a minute of worry cost Hector several more bruises. Mutsi continued to hit him in open areas, leaving red marks on his gray body. Attacks on the same spot provoked internal bleeding, and eventually he fell to the ground. However, even in his disadvantaged position, he held Mutsi to the last. Gathering the last of his strength into a fist, he abruptly lifted him up and threw him over his back, trying to make sure he hit his head on the ground. Having received a fatal blow, a stream of blood appeared on Mutsi's forehead, after which he lost consciousness and fell to the ground. Hector himself was no better off. He followed him to the ground and tried to focus his vision, but the picture kept blurring. Feeling incredibly painful, he left the fight to the rest of the tribe, hoping for their victory. At the same time, Lang Guchui and Huang Shi fought against the twins. They had prepared a special trick for them, which they had recently invented, and would not mind testing on the mountain tribe. For this purpose, they surrounded the twins from different sides and ran in their direction in synchronization while Xiaohu laughed madly. He couldn't believe that they were attacking them, so he was enjoying the ridiculous antics of the rookie tribe. Noticing that Lang Guchui was much slower than Huang Shi, the twins simultaneously attacked him, trying to ruin the plan. The twins did not hesitate to use the most insidious attacks, so in just a few seconds, Lang Guchui grabbed his eyes. Huang Shi was not going to watch idly by, so he immediately rushed to help his friend. Instead of attacking the blind man, he advised them to look for someone who could stand up to them. Without hesitation, he threw the axe he used to hunt ahead of him and hit one of the enemies right in the shoulder. Now they had an equal fight with equally wounded comrades. Left without a weapon, he knew that he would not be able to resist a person using an obsidian blade, so he raised a small shield in front of him. This way he focused all the attention on himself, but it was only a small part of the plan. In a fierce fight, he also remembered to count the steps that would let Lang Guchui know when to attack. But the shield did not help him. The enemy deftly got close to him and pierced his stomach, leaving him 2 steps away from an attack. Of course, the twins couldn't understand why they were counting numbers, but when they were 1 step away, they realized the value of their plan. Huang Shi grabbed the twins' arms with all his might and held him in place while Lang Guchui began the second phase of the plan. A single swing of the axe would be enough to kill the bear, so they had no doubt of their victory. Xiaohu did not immediately realize what was happening, but as soon as he noticed Lang Guchui above his head, he was very afraid for his own life and began to pull out harder. It was at this moment that his brother appeared and threw him aside, and he himself was under the axe's blade. The green grass slowly turned red as Xiaohu watched in horror as he suffered. Meanwhile, Ayu tried her best to help Mia. Shuihao was a very slow person, so the arrows hit the target perfectly. However, he was so thick-skinned that he did not seem to feel pain. His arm began to look like the back of a porcupine from the accumulated arrows, but in fact, they stuck only a few centimeters into it. It could not go on like this. Mia was struggling to keep her feet on the ground to avoid dropping the log that was being swung in different directions, so Ayu was forced to look for other methods of approach. Luckily, the same rope that had been used to tear the log off was lying not far from where they were fighting. Ayu knew that her hints would be understood, so she started shooting in its direction. Everyone in the tribe knew that she couldn't miss when it came to bloody warfare, so Mia immediately rushed towards the rope. At the same moment, Shuiho became concerned when he stopped feeling resistance and thought that they didn't want to play with him anymore, but his claim was quickly disproven. She pretended to play with a large child, constantly calling out to him from behind his back, while she wrapped his legs in a tight knot. Up to a certain point, he was having fun watching her run around him, but a sudden blow to the head on the ground brought him to his senses. Mia made every effort to knock him to the ground in one go, so she was heartily rejoicing in her victory. Another couple of fighters have already decided on the winners, but not Hector. He was not allowed to rest after a hard battle because Mutsi got up from the ground quite quickly. He admitted his overconfidence and that he had underestimated Hector, who almost sent him to the next world, but he did not give up. Only this time, something happened that even the prophets could not have predicted. The giant log that Shui Hao had recently fought with flew straight into Mutsi's head, sending him to the Valley of Dreams once again. Now, Hector was ready to believe in his brother Fang's words about his luck, and admit that he was right. However, the battle was not over yet. The leaders continued to fight for their tribe, pushing each other back again and again. Their fierce struggle lasted too long, and their arms began to go numb. Chen knew that he could not withstand the next blow, but the enemy situation was no better. Noticing the helplessness of the mountain tribe leader, the witch's servant brought him red leaves. According to her order, he was to use the herb, even though he did not like cheating. By burning the leaves, the chief would be able to return home safely, while the servant would hide from the smoke in the water and watch over the torment of the newcomers. Shortly before the war began, the witch warned him of the consequences, so the servant advised him to make a wise decision to prevent a loss. Our hero immediately realized that he wanted to abandon the voice of reason in order to strengthen his body with red ginseng, and use the power of Pangu to confront the mountain tribe on equal terms. Red ginseng would have been a great help in the war against the newcomers, but the leader of the mountain tribe doubted the need to use it. Most likely, the witch was able to unravel his character, so she ordered her servant to slip him this herb in any unclear situation. However, no one was in a hurry to set fire to it. Chen could not allow the situation to get to the point where the enemy would take advantage of it, and swung his axe with all his might, creating a shockwave so strong that several trees fell behind the leader. The servant was saved only because he miraculously noticed the attack that was directed at him and managed to jump away. Feeling our hero's gaze on him, he could no longer delay. If the leader himself could not light the ginseng, he would do it for him. Grabbing the torch, he picked up the leaves that he had dropped in fear and brought them to the fire, anticipating the scenario of the battle ahead. But the leader forbade him to do so. With a single stroke of his blade, he cut the stick and extinguished the fire, clearly realizing that he could anger the witch. When the servant asked him to explain his behavior, the chief replied that he did not believe his words. It was unlikely that the witch had given him such an order, so he ordered him to return to her and convey his will. Angrily clutching the leaves, the servant could not believe that he was being treated so badly. The road to the witch did not take as long as it seemed, so he advised the chief to expect punishment. All this scene was silently watched by Chen, whose destructive power had increased despite the protracted battle. In fact, he could barely stand up. After the battle with the ichthyosaur, he hadn't had time to recover, as he had immediately rushed to the border. Even his Pangu power was almost exhausted by this point, which made his eyes swim. Chen knew that he wouldn't last long in this state. He would be very lucky if he managed to strike the enemy at least one blow, but he would definitely lose consciousness after that. The situation of the soldiers was also not encouraging. Their strength had long been exhausted, and they could not provide adequate support to the king. All Chen had left was to rely on his own strength and hope that next strike would hit the target. Otherwise, it would cost the leader of the mountain tribe nothing to destroy the entire settlement without further restoration. However, it was not only the condition of the soldiers that worried him. If the leader had set fire to the ginseng, he would have secured a 100% victory, but instead he simply quarreled with his servant and threw the leaves away. His action seemed ridiculous and irrational, but no matter how much Chen thought about it, he could not find an answer. In such a case, it's better to work with your fists than to waste time on useless thinking. As long as you have at least a little strength in your body, you need to seize the opportunity and finish off the leader as quickly as possible. Time and again he attacked the enemy, trying to knock him out, but he kept resisting, stepping on his trail. The chief was pleased that he could fight such a strong warrior as Chen, so he provoked him to show his true strength to the last. For some reason, it was only when both of them were tired that he noticed the protagonist's wounded arm. The leader was sure that he had not inflicted these wounds, so he assumed that Chen had performed a sacrificial ritual, which gave him his strength. Taking this information into account, the fight became 10 times more interesting, but everyone knew that it would not last long. The leader himself was on the verge of exhaustion, because the divine power granted by the witch was about to disappear. He could not dodge the next attack, so he decided to take the initiative and attack first. All he wanted was to find out the winner in a fair fight, so if Chen lost, he promised not to harm his little tribe. His actions were honest and noble, for which our hero thanked him, but he did not need pity. With a crazy scream, two completely opposite forces clashed with weapons, causing an explosion of such force that a crater was left in their place. In this case, no one could have predicted the end of the war, so they waited for the miracle to blow over. Only then did the warriors notice the dent in the rock where the bloody leader of the mountain tribe lay. No one had the energy to talk, but everyone realized that the tribe of newcomers had won back their territory. At that very moment, the ropes that wrapped around the protagonist's arms snapped, and Chen felt a pain of incredible power. If it had happened a little earlier, he would have hardly defeated his opponent. Of course, the Pangu power helped him greatly in the battle, but its use had unprecedented consequences. Eventually, his legs gave out and he leaned on Ayu, who could not let the king fall after his victory. At the same time, they heard the queen's cries for help in case the witch's servant returned. Unfortunately, Chen's strength was leaving his body and he could not continue to command the army, so he transferred all his duties to Lisa. Just before he lost consciousness, he remembered the condition of Alana, who had fainted in the water, and ordered Ayu to help her no matter what. All the time that Chen was unconscious, he was looked after by people assigned to him in advance. Lisa skillfully managed the whole tribe in his absence, and only returned to him at night in the common house. But today, when our hero woke up, he saw her half naked, so he pretended not to wake up yet. He didn't want to embarrass her by seeing her like that. But when she sat down on his bed, he could hardly contain himself. She ran her fingers over his body for quite a while, watching his reaction, and when she got tired of it, she warned him that she knew he was awake. Anyway, Lisa wasn't going to wake him up and wanted to play a little, which really embarrassed Chen. He instantly woke up and began to change the subject, as if he was worried about the tribe. Unfortunately, even talking about Alana didn't stop Lisa, who moved closer and closer to his face. As she said, now was not the time to ask such questions. Mocking him, she assumed that our hero could not even move, so she threatened to do everything to find out what he was capable of in this state. Frankly speaking, Chen had been prepared for such a situation for a long time, but he had imagined it a little differently. He thought that one day he would give it his all and prove to everyone his endurance, but because of Lisa's stubbornness, everything went wrong. He accepted the decision that she would dominate, destroying the image of a courageous king. But the system's sudden quest was a great shock. Its name was 7 times in a night, referring to the fact that the leader must be the strongest in many things. In addition, one of the 7 times must last at least an hour, for which you can get 5 nuggets as a reward. The reward itself was attractive, but the punishment discouraged anyone from participating in the quest. If the protagonist fails to complete it, he will be forced to change his orientation. Rereading the task, the protagonist could not imagine how he would complete it. After a fight with the leader of a mountain tribe, he hadn't yet recovered, not to mention his arm, so he was sure he would die rather than complete the task. The quest conditions seemed so ridiculous that they were compared to a fight with a boss, where the hero chooses suicide before the last blow. After thinking about the choice for a while, he realized that the system gave him the right to choose, so he decided to ignore the task until it disappeared completely. However, he did not count on the fact that silence is considered as consent. With screams of anger and attempts to throw Lisa off him, Chen cursed the system with all its stupid tasks. Today could have been the worst day of our hero's life, because he wasn't even allowed to rest. All he could do was hope for help from the outside, or that Lisa would take pity on him and go back to her duties. At that very moment, as if a gift of fate, Zunda appeared, ramming half the house and grabbing Chen. This time, he was more grateful for the kidnapping than ever before, because the system's task was not cancelled because of him. However, when the protagonist asked the bear to stop, it seemed to have not heard his orders. Zunda took Chen deeper and deeper into the forest, making him think that he would soon become food. If only he had known how it would end, he would have stayed with Lisa. Resigned to his fate, he endured the pain of Zunda's teeth until he was dumped in front of the cave. He did not understand why he was brought to the forest and what they were going to do with him, so he looked around cautiously. However, after the bear howled, the cubs came out of the cave and happily greeted their mother. Up until that moment, our hero could not have thought that Zunda was a girl, so he was very surprised that she had time to take care of children. At the same time, the system sent a new quest. 2 cubs were ready to join his settlement under the influence of their mother, so he had to decide whether to take them or not. Without doubting his choice for a minute, he took them under his wing, thus providing the settlement with reliable protection. In just a few years, the kids would grow up to become full-fledged warriors of the tribe. After confirming the system's request, he checked the number of villagers, which had increased by 20, and calculated the military strength. Now, including the cubs, out of 98 people, the net original strength was 68, and the remaining 30 were 3 man-eating bears. After reaching the 90 mark, the system issued a new, main quest, where Chen had to expand his territory to 10 square kilometers and recruit over 300 people in 6 months. It had been a long time since he had received the last main quest, and if the system hadn't warned him, he would have forgotten. When our hero read the reward, he was delighted with it, but what does it matter when the tasks are so difficult? However, he had no choice. It was time to speed up the warriors' preparations for the attack and teach the rest of the tribe how to farm. With the support of 3 representatives of the man-eating bears, Chen could forget about his worries, providing the entire settlement with reliable protection. Saddled up with Zunda, our hero watched the cubs with interest and decided to come up with names for them out of boredom. This news pleased the mother bear, and she perked up her ears to hear Chen's suggestions. Most of his nicknames were not suitable for the formidable beasts that would tear their enemies to pieces in the future, so he settled on the most suitable ones. He named the brown bear cub Jun and the red bear cub Jun-san. Unfortunately, they didn't know what these words meant, but sensing their mother's pleasure, they began to crouch down by her side. Whatever the case, the quiet times would soon be over, and he would have to deal with a huge pile of cases again. Looking at the system map, Chen was happy to read the information about the tribes in his neighborhood and build a plan of invasion. In fact, this map was quite useful in its application. Our hero knew that he had not passed near the camp in the west, but he already knew the information about the surroundings, guard posts, and traps. Over the next 2 days, Chen planned to teach some of the newcomers the basics of agriculture, and then go on a reconnaissance mission with a calm mind. But for now, he just wanted to eat. After the war with the leader of the mountain tribe, he hadn't been able to taste the meat of the ichthyosaur, so he hoped that they had left him a piece. Much to his surprise, no one touched the reptile without the chief's permission. The whole village knew that Chen was the best cook of them all, and they just waited for him to recover. 3 days passed in this way. The time for rest was gradually running out, and the protagonist had to pack his things to visit the neighboring tribe. To do this, he took a bear with him, which he began to use more often as a riding animal. Finally, Ayu and Lisa came out to see him off and wish him a successful exploration. He left the cubs in the care of Huang Shi, who was responsible for the hyena cubs. He also asked Lisa to watch over the warriors so that they would not kill each other with the new catapult. He left Alana in charge of Ayu. Unfortunately, she still couldn't fully recall the recent events, so she needed careful supervision. All of these points were so important to him that Lisa was tired of hearing about them, so she hurriedly chased him out of the house. However, he was still concerned about Ayu's behavior. She had planted the millet according to his instructions, so there was no need to worry about the farmland, but she still looked downcast. Frankly, she didn't want to let him go on the exploration and begged him to send her to the foolish mountain tribe. After listening to her worries, Lisa assured her that whatever the enemy was, a bear would go with Chen. So worrying would only add to the trouble. Thanks to her steadfastness, the protagonist was able to set off without a scream, entrusting the command to the queen. But from that moment on, she became more wary of Ayu. She paid too much attention to Chen. She watched her insolent behavior day and night. But Lisa was not easy either. Immediately after saying goodbye to the protagonist, she called her trusted spies and ordered them to follow him. Last time the bear had stolen her husband from her, so now she had to get to the bottom of it and make sure he really went on a scouting trip. In any case, it would be better if she never found out about the secret cabin in the forest. At the same time, Chen began to sneeze like a madman. Feeling cold on his exposed skin, he couldn't figure out where he was blowing from, so he blamed it on the fact that his wound hadn't healed completely. Continuing his journey, he reached a steep mountain, which he had to go around, wasting extra time. But while the bear was looking for a way to the top, Chen was surveying the area. If he had the opportunity to settle on the mountain, he would have done the same as the mountain tribe, providing himself with a reliable defense. There were several ways to get to the top, sending the main forces to face the enemy and attacking from the rear. However, while he was planning the assault, guards passing by the border spotted a large bear and came out to meet him. Trying to calm the men down, Chen introduced himself and ordered them to their leader. Last time he was the first to come with war, so now it was our hero's turn. But they refused him. They let him leave under the pretext that the leader was too busy to talk to anyone, otherwise they would be forced to attack. Up to this point, the protagonist had tried to be nice, but obviously these savages had no manners whatsoever. Clutching his axe in his hand, Chen wondered if he should attack them now, but the prisoners in their background caught his attention. He remembered exactly how someone had said that prisoners wore chains, but these were different. Through a bunch of strangers, our hero was able to recognize the mountain tribe chief and Mutsi, who clearly did not have to carry loads. This situation completely confused Chen, so he sent Junda to them, dispersing the guards to the sides. He didn't know what a leader had to do to stoop to such a thing, but after explanations, he understood their rules. The tribe had a witch who took away the divine power of the losers, automatically turning them into slaves. Now he was no longer the leader, because a much stronger man than he was occupied that position. It was with him that Chen was now forced to engage in a dialogue. As if by order of the gods, after Chen was told about the change of leader, he appeared on the mountain, watching our hero with a haughty look. He didn't even want to come down to defend the tribe himself, so he sent his soldiers to deal with the intruder. The people in this tribe were really wild and uncontrollable, but surprisingly, they could already use harpoons. They were skillful at running up the steep cliff because their feet were used to the uneven surface, giving them an advantage in battle. And as soon as they crossed the halfway point, they threw the harpoons down, covering Chen so that he could not escape. To protect Junda from injury, he had to do his best, cutting each harpoon in half. However, not everyone escaped injury. These savages completely ignored the presence of their former comrades and attacked everyone indiscriminately. Only a few people, such as the former leader Jushi and Mutsi, managed to protect themselves with sacks of cargo, but they were later forced to fight against Chen. Of course, Jushi knew better than anyone else what the protagonist was capable of, but he did not want to lie down on the sacrificial table. Under pressure from the guards, they were forced to pick up their weapons and attack Chen together. Watching the mountain tribe gradually surround him, our hero had to retreat. He was outraged that the new leader refused to come down personally, but he could do nothing about it. He could easily overcome the entire tribe with the power of Pangu and climb up to him himself, but this did not guarantee that he would not run out of power beforehand. He needed time to develop a better plan. Chen didn't want to return home with bad news, so he desperately stayed in the forest near the mountain tribe. While Sunda was playing in the water and catching fish for dinner, the protagonist watched the mountain tribe's patrolmen. They didn't stop for a second and even walked around with torches at night in search of Chen. Given this, he realized that it would not be easy to get to them. Their real leader was not the new leader, but a witch hiding behind the scenes pulling the strings of the puppets. If Chen defeated this leader, a new one would be instantly appointed in his place. Replacing each other, they would eventually defeat the protagonist, and the settlement of the newcomers would come to an end. In this case, it was necessary to brainstorm and come up with a method to find the witch's hiding place and quietly kill the puppeteer. But at the same time, another hunt was taking place on the other side of the river. Junda quickly noticed the rustling of the bushes and growled in the direction of the noise. In response, Chen ordered her to hide and watch the fight from ambush. Huge piles of dust rose behind the terrified Varan, who ran from the forest. Dozens of black men were sitting on his body, crawling like fleas on his skin and biting him. This was the first time our hero had seen this method of hunting. After their work, the body of the reptile became like a sieve and soon fell to the ground. Surprised by their speed, Chen accidentally waved his hand, which hit a branch with dry leaves and rustled incredibly loudly. The herd of strangers, as he called them, immediately turned in the direction of the sound, but there was no time to investigate and they simply ran away. It was only by a miracle that Chen avoided an unnecessary fight, so he breathed a sigh of relief when they disappeared. However, he never saw the men, and his curiosity began to eat away at him. Our hero told the bear to stay put while he crossed to the other side to make sure they had left. He tried to walk quickly and unnoticed, but for some reason he could not catch up with them. Given the size of the gobies, he did not understand how they had managed to get so far. It was quite possible that their lair was nearby and they had hidden the beast there, but he would not be able to find out. Incredibly quickly, from an ambush, he was attacked by a woman who tickled his body with her fluffy tail. Her ears moved chaotically independently of each other while she happily called Chen a naughty boy, except she was attacking the wrong person. Looking at his face, she realized that she had been chasing an innocent man all along, because he did not belong to the werewolf tribe. The girl was amazed at Chen's movement skills, because only werewolves could run so fast. But she didn't know that our hero's agility was not due to his belonging to this tribe. He tried to peacefully resolve the misunderstanding and explain the situation to her, but the pursuit of women in camouflage outfits made him alert. They quickly left their seats, heading toward Chen, causing the stranger to quickly dismount. To protect herself from her pursuers, she jumped onto the first branch of a tree and began to cry out in indignation. Even though she recognized the protagonist as her friend, it was not a reason to attack. Of course, it was foolish of her to invade and run around in someone else's territory, but she had a reason. Finally, she warned them of the dangers that lurked on this side of the river and advised them to get as far away as possible. After that, she disappeared as quickly as she had appeared, leaving our hero to deal with the pursuers. They turned out to be the same spies that Lisa had assigned to Chen. At first he wanted to ask them if they knew anything about werewolves, but when he received a negative answer, he moved on to another question. He wondered how Fen ended up in the same forest as him, so he took her by the chin and forced her to look him in the eye. For her, it was like being tortured with hot coals. She was ready to fall through the ground from embarrassment and almost gave out all the information. But her mistake was that he was joking with her, because he knew perfectly well who sent them. In this way, he punished Feng for her persecution and then returned to the river. It was very difficult for them to accept the fact that they were not as strong underwater. The river was too fast even for Junda, so Chen asked them to find another way. However, it was time to return to the bear. Feng and his team crossed the river with ease, so before dawn, they reached the mountain trail where patrols were walking every night. Telling them everything he had learned lately, Chen asked them to help him find out if there was another road on the mountain that could be used to climb up without being seen. The problem with the werewolf girl was put on the back burner at this point, because now they had to figure out the plan of attack. One of them had to stay near the main road to watch the patrolman. Chen quickly gave out orders and headed west along the river, promising to return the next day before sunset. As he thought, going downstream was a good idea, because the river ended in a large waterfall. This was most likely the same place from which Alana had recently ducked and run to the sea. Looking at the size of the waterfall, Chen could not think that jumping from such a height would be possible. But while there was time, he could try to climb up unnoticed. The only fear that tirelessly haunted him was that there were enemies above and a strong current below. In any case, there was no turning back, because there was only one end. Death. Thinking about all the ways he could get around the guards, Chen decided not to take any chances and go the other way. As he made his way through the dense bushes, he hoped for the favor of the gods to prevent the patrolman from spotting our hero. However, today was clearly not his day. It was in these thickets that he came across a group of people who were silently walking somewhere. Unfortunately, in such darkness it was difficult to see their identity, but Chen took a chance and followed them. Hiding in the bushes, he managed to overhear their conversation. Most people were not sure that the guide could be trusted, but they followed anyway. In the situation in which they found themselves unwittingly, the only thing left to do was to follow the guy. He justified his behavior by saying that he was no longer a member of the tribe of newcomers, and this time, despite the enormous risks, he was ready to show them the way. He managed to secretly write down the location of the traps, so they should have been happy that he was the one they met on their way. For Chen, their conversation seemed rather strange. Apart from the fact that they were most likely trying to secretly pull off something, the guide's voice sounded eerily familiar. Only when they came to an open clearing illuminated by the moonlight could the protagonist recognize him as Lu Teng, who had led the former members of the mountain tribe through the traps. Looking at his behavior, Chen began to suspect that he was just working undercover, but the tribesmen were not yet advanced enough to know what that meant. Now he could only wonder how he had managed to find out about the traps they had recently set in the forest. Instead of attacking them under the cover of dusk, Chen decided to follow them and see how it all turned out. Soon, the moon gave way to the sun, and the former members of the mountain tribe were forced to continue their journey under the rays of hell. Most of the team was exhausted and wanted to take a break, but Lu Teng forbade them to stop. Under the pretext that there was not much further to go to the mountain, he lifted the twins to their feet and forced them to continue. The desire to kill our hero should have given them an incentive, but it did not. They overcame the journey, which was originally designed to take 1 day and 1 night, in just half a day. If they had divine power, everything would have been much easier, but now they had to reach the tribe of newcomers on their own. Pointing to the observation tower, Lu Teng reminded them that guards would surely come from there and would eventually notice them. They would not be able to disguise themselves in such an open area, especially given the size of the Shui Hao, which can be seen from several kilometers away. No one would want to be buried in some thicket, so Lu Teng sent everyone back to the mountains to do the work of prisoners. Using a lot of tricks and manipulations, he tried his best to bring them to the tribe of newcomers. This time, he encouraged them by telling them that there was a trap zone not far from them, after which they could easily get to the settlement. Jushi also tried to encourage others, From the very beginning, killing Chen was his idea, while the rest of them had to do their best to realize it. However, if someone really wanted to go home, they are free to do so. When he will return to the witch, holding the severed head of Chen, he will definitely put in a good word for them. But everyone wanted to regain the divine power with their own hands, so they obediently went forward. Even Xiaohu, who had hoped to return with his brother, followed them, convinced that today Jushi would need them more than ever before. Meanwhile, on a neighboring mountain, Huang Shi was scouting the area. At first, he thought that hungry travelers were approaching him, but when he spotted Lu Teng among them, he began to shout. He didn't understand why they were going into the trap zone, so he began to actively draw attention to himself. Huang Shi told them as loudly as he could the route they had to take to get back, but he did not see a response. With his kindness, he only ruined Lu Teng's perfect plan, which he had barely dared to start. If they had met someone else, he would not have tried to save them, but would have most likely called a patrol to arrest the offenders. Now he could only hope for the reliability of the traps, which he had to activate by any means necessary. At the same moment, Lu Teng, as if by accident, hit the tripwire that activated the coveted trap. The ground under their feet instantly shook, and they fell screaming into a deep pit with pins lining the bottom. It didn't matter to him how seriously they were injured, because it was enough to leave at least one witness alive, through whom Chen would find a way to contact the leader of the mountain tribe. Now everything depended on Huang Shi's speed. In the last moments before he lost consciousness, Lu Teng hoped for the patrolmen who were supposed to bring our hero before they died. Only Chen appeared in front of him much earlier. He successfully pulled out all the victims and treated their wounds while waiting for Lisa's reinforcements. He didn't treat the wounded to the end, so the need to tie them up with ropes disappeared by itself. Even if they woke up right now, they would not be strong enough to attack the healthy soldiers. Lisa was in full solidarity with his decision, and even offered to use them as her own servants. Only Lu Teng, the man who had betrayed her, asked to be left in the weak state in which he was found. Lisa wanted to punish the vile traitor with her own hands with her whip, but Chen blocked her way. They could not draw conclusions about him now, because everything would be decided only after Lu Teng woke up. However, the tribe supported her decision. A few prisoners would suffice for interrogation. It was not necessary to leave them all alive. Besides, the medicine was running out right before his eyes, so he couldn't waste such valuable resources on outsiders. Recalling the character of Jushi, everyone knew that he could not be easily forced to betray his community. Even when he was treated as a slave, he did not lose hope of returning to the ranks of the warriors and proving his loyalty. He was closely connected not only to the tribe, but also to the twins, Mutsi and Shui Ho, so he cherished them. He had promised Chen last time that he would not kill his people, so he wanted to return the favor. Despite all the persuasion he received from Lisa non-stop, our hero decided to cure them in the hope that Jushi would eventually obey. Whatever the case, he wanted to hear at least a thank you, because he had already spent a lot of money and medicine on them. And so, thanks to one merciful decision, Lu Teng was transferred to the house, and they proceeded to interrogate Jushi, who had just regained consciousness. To do this, Chen gave out orders to everyone, and he took him to the most remote place in the village so that unnecessary ears would not hear their conversation. From Jushi's words, it was possible to find out that no one had ever seen the witch, and that information and orders were transmitted through a little girl. Even the most important sacrifices were performed by her. She claimed to be the witch's messenger, immune to the power of the curse. According to the girl's words, the witch's body was wrapped in cursed symbols, and anyone who approached her would die. Since the mountain tribe had seen the divine power at work with their own eyes, no one dared to doubt her words. They were so afraid to approach her that they left the witch's cave unguarded. With this valuable information, it was clear that the operation to assault the village would be much easier than he had thought. However, Collapse, the new leader of the mountain tribe, was not so easy to deal with. Everyone knew that no one could cope with his power, especially after receiving divine strength. However, Jushi said that it could only be obtained at a daily sacrificial ritual, during which a sacred fire was lit. That is why it is not held on a rainy or windy day, and no one receives the divine power. On such days, the chief and his entire clan lose most of their power. The mountain tribe has a lot of vulnerabilities that the enemies, surprisingly, still know nothing about. And all because it is very difficult to move along the mountain trails on rainy days. Even experienced people who know the terrain very well do not go out in bad weather. In addition, strong winds are always accompanied by a downpour, so it takes a very long time to hide vulnerabilities. All the information that Jushi provided to Chen had to be kept secret and not let anyone else know about them. Now the main character could congratulate him. Jushi had finally become a traitor to the mountain tribe, where no one would accept him anymore. Instead, Chen offered to join him. His offer was tempting enough, but Jushi immediately refused. Regardless of who asks him and under what circumstances, he never gives out secret information. But when talking to our hero, he did not want to hide anything and voluntarily told everything. Jushi sincerely thanked Chen for personally calling him a worthy traitor, but he still couldn't accept his offer. However, no one forced him to accept it. On the contrary, he was given his belongings and a place to wait for the team to be completely cured. Now that they had a real conversation between two intelligent people, Chen hoped that they would not be enemies the next time they met. 5 days passed in peace and harmony. During this time, the tribe of newcomers prepared everything they needed to make firecrackers and began to fill the bags with ingredients. Lu Teng helped them with this. Ah Yu was worried about our hero, and couldn't believe that the traitor was allowed to walk around the village. So as soon as they were alone, she asked him about it. However, the only thing he could not be forgiven for was the look of a traitor that he put on to get information from the mountain tribe. He had practically sacrificed his life for Chen, so there was no reason not to trust him. In addition, this morning Jushi left the camp with the rest of the team. They took food, water, weapons, and basic necessities with them, because it is assumed that they will have to wander in foreign lands for some time. The protagonist provided them with everything he could, and the rest was up to them. After saying goodbye to them, the tribe of newcomers could start preparing for the assault. Weapons, shields, armor, poison, food, firecrackers, all of this was almost ready, so they just had to wait for the storm and hope for their own luck. On the last day of preparations for the attack, the rookie tribe was busier than ever before. While everyone was distributing the accumulated resources among the warriors and preparing for victory, Chen was bargaining with the system. He was outraged by the fact that he had to spend 70 technology points on just 3 hemostats. Until that moment, he thought that the store's price would remain stable all the time, but then it started doubling after each purchase. However, there was no choice, and our hero had to dance to the tune of the system. Waiting for the appearance of the commanders-in-chief of each squad, he cursed it, but continued to make purchases anyway. Eventually they came. The queen brought Stonebone, Hector, Lu Teng, and others with her to discuss the assault plan. First, they had to divide all the soldiers into 4 groups. Hector was ordered to choose 3 reliable subordinate troops and go to the mountain with Feng. A few days ago, she managed to find the place where the slaves were being held, so she would be able to direct them in the right direction at the most appropriate time. Stonebone was put in charge of the main group, which will attack directly into the forehead of the mountain tribe and distract their attention. The rest of them would stay in the settlement. When the sun rose, Chen consulted with Lisa and asked her opinion on the plan. While Stonebone leading the main group could be accepted, she disagreed with the decision about Lu Teng. She didn't think it was a good idea to leave a traitor in a settlement with many valuable items and children, but she could not come up with another plan. This time, Chen was going to war with a full force, so children, women, and the elderly had to be protected. In addition, Lu Teng's wounds had not yet healed enough for him to attack the settlement from the inside. Most importantly, many people are still angry with him, and he is well aware of this. In this way, Chen has created the perfect conditions for Lu Teng to prove his innocence and take care of the residents. Whatever happens, this time the enemy will be people from the mountain tribe. It would be too cruel to make him fight them in a half-crippled state. But while Chen and Lisa were talking, the hurricane that the warriors had been looking forward to began. When they went outside, they saw that the wind was indeed strong, but there was moisture in the air. If it rained too early, it would only hinder their efforts, so Chen ordered them to gather outside the village immediately. When they reached the waterfall, which had become a blind spot for the enemy, Chen ordered Feng to stay near it. Alana was nearby in an ambush, so if anyone fell into the water, they would be responsible for rescuing them. He also took Shunda with him to cover their backs and warn them of the approaching enemy. The rest of the warriors had to first cross the river and climb the cliff while Chen climbed to the top of the mountain. He was responsible for this entire mission because he had to find the witch and destroy her. According to the plan discussed earlier, as soon as everyone was in position, Stonebone lit the wick of a firecracker and threw it toward the guards. This sound stunned them and gave the command to attack, so every warrior who heard the explosion ran towards the mountain tribe, sweeping them away like children. At the same time, Collapse came out to the sounds of explosions and screams and gave the command to start firing. In order to avoid being hit, Stonebone ordered the men to form a defensive unit, protecting their bodies from the sharp harpoons. Their task was to force Collapse down, and until he did, they had no right to retreat. The mountain tribe also realized that it was difficult to fight so many warriors, so they were waiting for reinforcements. Today, Collapse did not receive divine power, and was forced to wait for the prisoners to wear out Stonebone's squad, after which the rest of the warriors would join in. At the same time as the main squad was distracting the attention of the bulk of the mountain tribe, Hector was at the top of the waterfall. He was cleverly hiding in ambush to surprise attack the guards who were shackling the members of the sea tribe and driving them to the other side of the mountain. The fierce battle lasted for life and death. Collapse praised their decision to stay, but he still didn't understand why the prisoners hadn't come yet. With every passing minute, the tribe of newcomers was making their way further into the center of the mountain, so he could not wait any longer. Under Collapse's frantic shouts, the rest of the troops joined the fight and began to push Stonebone back to the exit. With the arrival of reinforcements, it became easier for them to fight the crowd, and Stonebone had to use his own body to cover the wounded so that they could get to a safe distance. However, their blows were too powerful for him. The shield could not completely block the attacks, so once again, after taking a blow, Stonebone began to cough up blood. He remained a punching bag until the end, and when he noticed that the wounded were running away, he grabbed a bottle of medicine and ran after them. Luckily, Lisa and the other girls were in the second line of defense, and when the main group passed them, they launched a dozen firecrackers into the air. In this way, they were able to block the way to their position and provided the soldiers with a reliable defense. Stonebone immediately drank the medicine and began to reorganize the formation, anticipating that the next battle would be decisive. Meanwhile, Chen managed to get to the place where the witch was supposed to be hiding and went down into the cave. Just as Jushi said, it was surrounded by a bunch of strange symbols and driven stakes that no one dared to approach. However, As soon as the protagonist was at the entrance, he smelled a sweet smell coming from the depths of the cave. Going inside, he noticed many barrels filled with honey, from which a sonorous voice was coming. He ordered Chen to give the donation and run away before the witch came out and cursed him. With this in mind, our hero assumed that the loud voice belonged to a little girl, so he quickly headed in the direction of the sound. But she was not going to give up so easily. The girl was hiding between the barrels quite cleverly, constantly changing her position. But then she got angry and screamed. In a burst of emotion, she began to resent and accuse Chen of stupidity, because she had never seen a brave man who was not afraid of the witch's curse. Observing her insolent behavior, Chen assumed that she might be the same witch who was simply deceiving the mountain tribe and quickly ran up to her. To prevent her from making too much noise, he hit her on the head and put her on his shoulder to leave the cave as quickly as possible. The mountain tribe has never seen what their witch looks like, so even if the protagonist kills this girl, they will never believe that the witch is dead. However, if they have never seen her, you can try to blackmail them. It was at this moment that rain began to pour from the sky, turning the solid ground into a pile of mud. The war continued to the last. Stonebone tried to keep the squad's mood positive, claiming that Chen would return soon. But instead of the protagonist, a bunch of sea tribesmen came running to him, whom Hector had successfully freed. Once free, many of them had something to say to Collapse, so they rushed into battle without hesitation. It was time to take revenge for the way they had been treated and pay back in full. They successfully surrounded the enemies, mercilessly attacking all those who attacked the tribe of newcomers. Through their stubbornness, they managed to hold out until a body was thrown off a cliff. This is how Chen attracted attention and announced the end of the battle. Their famous witch was dead, and no one else could help them. Chen found a man from a mountain tribe and put a witch's mask on him, then threw him to the ground. The mood of the tribe immediately changed, because everyone knew about her curse. With incredible screams, they began to scatter in different directions, leaving Collapse alone with his enemies. His warriors had fled in disgrace, so it was no wonder he was furious and attacked Lisa to injure at least the queen. Her whip did not threaten him, so Collapse threw his mace at her and ran after the soldiers. Luckily, Stonebone noticed the threat and immediately shielded her, barely keeping her on her feet. Despite the fact that everyone was tired, Lisa wanted to capture Collapse, because without the leader and the witch, the tribe could not exist for long. But Chen forbade the pursuit. Most members of the mountain tribe were wounded and could not continue the battle, so the protagonist declared victory and led the troops home. The last bottle of medicinal ointment he had saved just in case also had to be used, but that's not a problem if you can save someone. But there is no such war that is without casualties. 5 men from his army and 4 prisoners were killed during the assault, so Chen ordered them to be buried in the northern forest at the foot of the mountain. With the losses, the newcomers' population grew by 20 people. This time, 25 people from the mountain tribe joined him, which was too few. In the near future, the fights would only get worse, and the number of people killed would increase several times. The system deliberately forced him to take such risks, but it was worth it. And while he was looking at the village statistics, the girl he had captured was screaming at the whole village, tied to a tree. The little witch was threatening to bury everyone who touched her, including Chen. Watching her screaming and floundering on the rope, the protagonist called Yu, who had experience with capricious children. Fortunately, he was right, and the girl was able to calm down with some goodies. Yu used licorice root, which grew thickly near the camp, and offered to cooperate to get the supplement. Now, even Chen could approach the satisfied witch. Having received a portion of the leaves from Yu, he was convinced that he would be listened to and all his questions would be answered. However, he could not have imagined that if he got too close, she would jump up and bite his hand. It was her little revenge for the blow to the head. She couldn't let herself be fooled by some herb, so she asked for a mountain of honey in exchange for a conversation. No matter how loud she was, Chen didn't feel threatened by her and promised to provide her with honey for the rest of her life. After they agreed on everything, the protagonist untied her hands and sat down next to her. Although the place she found herself in was not the best, she could get used to it. For her, the main thing was that she didn't have to go back to her father, who belonged to a tribe of werewolves. She learned magic from him, constantly watching the rituals. His power was so great that he could turn a person into a real wolf. Once upon a time, he, like the rest of the tribe, was an ordinary man who was given his power by another leader. Everyone had to go through this rite, but she and several other girls managed to avoid this fate. They were selected to serve the leader, but Xiao Yu refused to live in the stinking werewolf tribe and ran away to another one. No one expected to hear such a story. Now Chen knew what danger the stranger was talking about and decided not to provoke such a strong tribe, leaving them for last. Time passed unnoticed behind the talks about Xiao Yu's life, and it was evening, the time when she could be fed a real meal. Sitting in a circle around a large fire, he cooked her a piece of juicy meat and suggested that she rest while she had time. With the arrival of the child, he began to spend more time with Lisa, so she was incredibly happy about this fact. However, on the other side of the campfire, Mia was talking to Yu, who had dressed up in a beautiful dress and put a wreath on her head. This is how she prepared for the night's meeting with Chen, which Mia immediately recognized. However, the winner will not be the one who wears the most beautiful outfit, but the one who runs to our hero the fastest. Mia rushed through the fire at high speed and scared Chen, who was calmly talking to Xiao Yu and did not expect such a turn of events. And if you want to know what happens next, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video.